Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the home of champions for finals day of the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff, being hosted here at the fantastic circuit simply known as the home of champions, Karting Genk, based out of Belgium. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, the official commentator for the championship, taking you through the on-track activity over the coming hours until later on this afternoon, where we have around 150 or so drivers representing nigh on 16 different nationalities, all vying for one of 6 coveted entry tickets to the 2020 Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy, taking place at Le Mans between the 28th of July and also the 1st of August. A big warm welcome to all our viewers and listeners on multiple different broadcast platforms, on the official Camp Company GmbH YouTube channel, also on the official Rotax radio channel, which is broadcasting live and direct audio only from the circuit, and also for the very first time this season on our official Facebook page. And good to see so many of you starting to join us. We have got a very, very packed timetable, which kicks off in just under 3 minutes' time with the first of our 3 heats for Junior Rotax at 9:45. We then go all the way through to around about 1:15 this afternoon before the customary lunch break, and then we get the action back underway at 2:15 this afternoon, where we go into the business end and we will find out who will be our 2020 BNL kickoff winners, and also those that will end up going to Le Mans later on this year. A very, very interesting qualification side of things yesterday afternoon, as the sunlight, well, the light, I might say, was very quickly fading as we headed into the second of the senior Rotax groups, where we finished proceedings at around about 6:15 to 6:20 yesterday evening, which is around about 10 minutes before sunset truly happened, and then darkness quite quickly fell over the circuit. But at the moment, there is some blue sky intermixed with some clouds up ahead. The track is dry. All the categories have had their 7-minute warm-up sessions to get a gauge of the track and to push the limits of adhesion before they go racing very, very shortly. For those wondering about our social media channels for the BNL Karting Series, it's at BNL Karting Series on Facebook, at Karting BNL on Twitter, and also at BMC_BNL on Instagram. And a big thank you to all those that have been interacting with us throughout the course of the build-up towards this, along with the 6 tickets that are being given away to Le Mans. There's a very special prize courtesy of PL8 Design, as for the driver that sets the fastest lap in the last final of both the Micro and the Minimax classes will get a brand new race helmet bag, which will be presented to them at the podium celebrations, which take place at around 5:20 p.m. this afternoon. And our last race will be Senior Rotax at 16:35 local time, but very shortly, in around 10 seconds, we will get the racing action truly underway here at the home of champions. So, local time 9:45, green flag on the start-finish line, and we have a grid for our first of 3 Junior Rotax heats. This time it's groups B and C, and the grid is as follows. So as they go on to their sighting lap, Thomas Martens from Belgium and Fahin Mega from Germany line up on the front row of the grid. Caught up briefly with Jaden Thien from the Netherlands, who is on the inside of row number 2. Alongside will be Latvia's Patriks Nols-Lokmelis. Simon Butch Christiansen and Milan Ritter make it an all-Danish row number 3 with Valentin Klus and Tommy van der Stroys from the Netherlands rounding out the top 4 rows. Turnschmidt and Magnus Pedersen, that is row number 5, completing the top 10. Then it's Dirk Jansen, Maurice Schmeis, Sam Bergstein, Max Knappen, the returning Dewey de Decker, Marius Roos from Denmark, David Outledner from Poland. Then we've got Nathan Schaap, Bruno Mulders, Sjors Peters, Juri Schoens, Enzo Ball, Ken Agasade from Germany, Lake Ron Sorensen and Mikkel Garde Pedersen from Denmark round out the top 25. And completing the 28 strong is Gilles Chloé, Danny van Rooyen and Nick Gerhards from the Netherlands. Nick unfortunately did not set a lap time. Danny van Rooyen came under mechanical issues in qualifying yesterday afternoon. So 7 minutes set on the timer as things are about to really kick off here at Karting Genk, the home of champions. Sunshine definitely breaking its way onto the circuit here. So top 10, it's Martins, Mega, Thien, Lockmelis, Christensen, Ritter, Klus, van der Stroys, Schmidt and Pedersen. Now the anticipation builds. There's a couple of stragglers at the back of the formation as they now start making their way with Martins and Mega starting to control the pace. Mega will need to draw up alongside the 255 on the front row as they come to a crawl through turn 12. For the first time, we enter into the tram lines. The Rotax Roar returns to Karting Genk. We go lights out and we go racing, and someone has had a dreadful start, dropping quite a few places as it is 3 abreast going through turns 2, now into 3. They can use the runoff for the first time, as at the minute someone has lost out big time. I'm not too sure who that might have been, as there's been someone going well off the track heading into turn number 5 as they go down the back straightaway heading into turn 7 for the first time. And there's some great battles up and down the order, all the way down towards the bottom part of the top 20 and even in the back part of the field, as Martins and Mega, it looks like, I think, have broken away. Thien, I believe that might be, is looking still in around 5th place, the youngster who was in Minimax last season in the BNL Karting Series, which is the case. He's actually behind Milan Ritter, who's overtaken the young Dutchman. So, we come to complete lap number 1. So, Martins leads, Mega in second, Lockmelis, Ritter and Thien round out the top 5. Tommy van der Stroys has been passed by Maurice Schmeis for 8th position on the first lap. Janssen up into 11th ahead of Valentin Klus. Nathan Schaap, David Outledner have all made up positional gains, as has Bruno Mulders and also Schoens in the 226. As we've got one kart forlorn on the exit off of turn 2. The drivers park the karts on the runoff area. As from 6th onwards, that is an absolutely humongous sprawl of around 7 karts, and one driver's put their hand in the air, and I'm just keeping an eye as they come through. That driver might be pulling that kart into the pit lane, and that is the 253 that has pulled into the pits, and that is Simon Butch Christensen, who's now an early retiree. Chloé was the one that was parked on the exit of turn 2. And I've just seen that Nick Gerhards is still circulating apparently, or is that Nick there? That looks to be an SP Motorsport set of overalls and livery on the car, so that looks to be that Nick Gerhards, I think, is no longer taking any participation in this race. So we are now down to 25 competitors. Turnschmidt, Maurice Schmeis, Tommy van der Stroys have now been promoted up one place as a result of Christensen unfortunately coming all the way down from around about the top 5, as there's some great toing and throwing. Some people trying to throw the old Nigel Mansell dummy, but not quite pulling off the moves just yet. As Fahim Mega getting the head down, trying to close the gap on Martins for the lead of the race, and it's now down to just under 0.2 of a second. But Mega's run on the back bumper of the leader, going through turn 3, now into the left at 4, up to 5 before the hard braking zone. As Mega will again have the toe going down the back straight away. As there's a nice positional change there. That looks to be for 7th place. So I think Schmeiz has been pounced on by Tommy van der Stroys. Or has it been the other way around? Not quite sure. But we'll keep an eye on things as they proceed. So each driver will take part in 2 heats out of 3. As they're further back down the back part of the order towards the just outside the top 20 or the bottom part of the top 15. There's a great battle. I think I count about 9 karts in that battle so far. So the running order as another lap is completed. We've got around 3 minutes to go. Mega just over 2 tenths behind Thomas Martins from Belgium. Then it's Milan Ritter. And then we've got a great battle between Jaden Thien and Patrick Knowles Lockmelis for what is 4th and 5th on the road. And Thien is leading that at the minute. But Lockmelis looks to get into the slipstream. Just behind them is Turnschmidt. Tommy van der Stroys up into 7th ahead of Germany's Maurice Schmeiz. As Thien doing a great defensive job in 4th position at the minute. Hello, Jarvo Parviainen. I am looking at all the Facebook comments as well. Good to one of the administrators for the Team Finland group that definitely is making a good help in promoting the Rotax brand in their own special way. So good to hear from you, my friend. So Bergstein, outliner Van Reuten is well up the order. He's now up into 15th. He's got past Bruno Mulders. So we've had 3 confirmed retirements at the moment. Gilles Clouet from Belgium, Nick Gerhards from the Netherlands, and Simon Birch Christensen, the biggest casualty of all, having been in the top 5. As there's more changes for position, this is getting very, very interesting indeed. As there's plenty of action up and down the order. So Danny Van Ruyten's got past Bergstein for 13th. Van Ruyten on the move. As the lead has changed, and it is now in the hands of Farin Mega from Germany, 2018 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals Mini-Max champion. He's had a bit of a difficult 2019, but looks to get back on the best foot possible. Ritter at the minute is actually faster than Martins, and was faster by over 0.3 of a second last time around, as Mega extends the gap now to 0.2 over Martins. But Martins looking very, very feisty indeed as they break into turn 2. But Mega has the measure of the Belgian at the minute. Ritter, Thien, Lockmelis, Tommy van der Stroys up into P6 now. Ahead of Maurice Schmeiz, who's got past Turnschmidt for 7th place. Magnus Pedersen and Valentin Klus also round out the top 10. Then it's Janssen, Knappen, Van Hoyten, Mulders past Bergstein for 14th, Schaap past Outleitner for 16th, Doide Decker up to 18th ahead of Schoens, Enzo Boll rounding out the top 20 at the minute. The top 20 separated by just under 13.5 seconds from front Nassau plate to rear bumper. There's still a lot of stability in what's happening as we go into the last 20 seconds of this race, as there has been a mechanical black flag shown. I think, is that the 271 of Bruno Mulders? That might be the case. So Bruno Mulders will have to park that. That will bring his that'll bring his run in 14th to an abrupt end. So the timer is now expired. We are on the penultimate lap. Lead is now coming through turn 7 as Martin's really hot on the heels of Farin Mega for the victory. Looks like Milan Ritter, who's having a very steady drive, all on his Todd in 3rd place. And then Jaden Thien still coming under pressure for what is now 4th place. And with him is the Netherlands' very own Tommy van der Stroys in the 254. Now this youngster, who was last year's BNL Karting Series Micromax champion, now jumping up 2 classes, and he's got the toe. He's gone up the inside of Thien to take 4th place. Nicely done from the young Dutchman. And a little bit further back, there's some great battles all the way up and down the order. Bergstein and Schaap and De Decker. Bruno Molders has parked it, so that's a real shame from the 271 from the Netherlands. So we're coming down to the final salvo of action, as there's some great battling, I think, towards the back part of the field. Actually, the last trio thereof, which will be Peters, Pedersen and Ron Sorensen, and just up ahead of them will be the likes of Enzo Bol, Schoens and Marcus Roos as well. So leaders now coming through, checkered flag, being prepared and winning the first race for the 2020 BNL kickoff is Germany's Farin Mega by literally half a kart length from Thomas Martens, who closes the gap to just over a tenth of a second at the end of the race. Milan Ritter takes third position ahead of Tommy van der Stroys from the Netherlands. Jaden Thien makes it another young Dutchman in the top five, ahead of Latvia's Patrick Knowles Lokmelis. Morris Schmeis in seventh, ahead of Tern Schmidt, Magnus Pedersen and Valentin Klus rounding out the top 10. Rounding out the order, it was Drek Jansen, Max Knappen, Danny van Reuten, Sam Bergstein. We had Nathan Schaap from the Netherlands rounding out the top 15. Doy de Decker down in 16th, ahead of David Outleitner from Poland. Marius Roos from Denmark in 18th, ahead of Germany's Kian Agasade from Jori Schoens from the Netherlands, who rounds out the top 20. Enzo Bol in 21st. Mikkel Gard Pedersen from Denmark and Larke Ron Sorensen, also from Denmark, round out the top 23. And Charles Peters from the Netherlands was the 24th classified finisher, with Bruno Molders being given the mechanical black flag, having to pull into the pits with just 2 laps remaining, with Simon Birch Christensen, Nick Gerhards and Gilles Clouet unfortunately not finishing the race here. A big thank you, first of all, via our official Facebook page that last night hit the magic 1,000 likes milestone. A big thank you for those that have continued to support the BNL karting series from not just a competitor standpoint, but also a social media standpoint. And we really do appreciate the support that you give us all every single time we go racing. For those wondering about the calendar for 2020 for the BNL karting series, it's the 4th and 5th of April, where we return here to the home of champions for the first of 3 double header weekends. So it's qualifying, heats and finals, or finals every single day. So you'll have qualifying in the morning, racing in the late morning and afternoon. Then we'll have the first weekend of July at Karting Genk in Marienborg, which will mark the halfway point when we finish on Saturday evening, and then we return back here to the home of champions on the second weekend of October, where we will crown 6 new champions. We may be even having those, maybe even returning to the top step. So it's the 3rd to the 5th of April for the first round here. The 3rd to the 5th of July for Marienborg, and then the 9th to the 11th of October for the 3rd and final race weekend. So that is the first of multiple races going on this morning, which I count 10, and we will then have a further 7 this afternoon. Good to see the likes of Willie Anderson. Also good to see one of our illustrious alumni, Ilian Brunsils, watching on Facebook. Hope you're keeping well, my friend. Along with quite a few other people. Charlie Turner from Sudi Vitesse, I know he's watching back home. Good to see that you're watching with us. So we are keeping an eye just who is watching. Steve Ravenscroft is also watching as well. Nice comment from yourself yesterday, Steve, saying I should get Dave Ritson in the commentary box with me. The jury might be out on that one, but well, you never know. We might get him in to say a few words. You never know in that kind of respect. But it was very interesting to see how close the qualifying was yesterday, especially for a lot of the drivers in the younger classes. So the formative years of the Rotax racing family, Micro and Minimax, and having had the opportunity to be commentating alongside Henry Baudet. Hello, Mr. Tidy Darts. Hope you're well. I know he's in Landau in South Wales I think today, so I hope he's keeping well. A pleasure to be alongside him for Minimax, and that was the first taste of seeing the new 2020 package that BLP Rotax had brought in order to provide a good stepping stone in terms of being able to go from micro to mini with minimal issues, minimal problems, and to help the youngsters make it up the ranks as much as possible. And to see one of the many races that I've seen or commentated on throughout 2019, it was definitely one of the big highlights, and to be one of the several thousand people there at Sarno at the Circuito Internazionale Napoli was truly an honour and a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the 2020 Grand Finals, which are scheduled to take place on the 7th to the 14th of November at the Bahrain International Circuit, after Rotax kept us waiting with anticipation and bated breath as to the location. So another new one, a new territory for Rotax to showcase what the Grand Finals are all about. Seems like we've got Joachim Jorgensen giving a shout out to RS Competition, I believe, RSC. So good to see that we'll have hopefully a lot of comments and a lot of interaction from you that are watching. Please feel free to share the stream on Facebook. This is the first time for us, and it is in sound and vision. Later on today I'll be joined, at some point today I'll be joined by Ben van der Stukke, our guy in the pit lane, who normally will pull the drivers to one side so we can get an understanding of how they're feeling after a race and many things like that. Well, there was one person who's celebrated their birthday yesterday, Morin Racing Academy's Ludwig Morin, so good to see you yesterday and good to have a catch up. And I know that a certain someone has a birthday, and that would just so happen to be the mum of both Silas and Milan Ritter, and she was saying, well, hopefully they get me a good birthday present today. Well, you never know. There's still plenty of time in the day left to go, and anything's possible. So we're literally just a couple of minutes away, and not even that, probably just over 60 seconds until we get our first bit of senior Rotax action underway. Again, they will be taking part in 2 of 3 heats. We will have a second chance heat a little bit, just after the lunch break for junior Rotax. So those that have not been able to get through into the initial grid, we give an opportunity for those that want to put forth their case, saying, well, I'm just as capable of those that have made it through. And some will end up ending their weekend at that particular moment. Some will find that they'll have the opportunity to compete with those that have progressed at that rate where it's guaranteed their place. So, green flag waves on the start-finish line, and senior Rotax groups B and C will start the heat action. First heat of 3 here. And your grid is as follows. Sean Butcher from KR Sport will line up on pole position. Alongside him will be Wales's very own Matthew Higgins, I spoke with him and his dad David last night, and David said, well, he made a bit of a mistake, he's kicking himself, but he knows that. I said to him, well, for a senior Rotax debut, that's a great effort. Luca Lystra and Teddy Clinton, that's row 2. Anthony Boulou and Harry Thompson round out row number 3. Linus Henson and Dylan LaHaye, who is the 2019 BNL Karting Series senior Rotax champion, that's row 4. Patrick Rundqvist and Maurice Schuring, that's the top 10. Vincent van Kerkhoffen and Arthur Roche round out row number 6, followed by Jules Castro, who I remember as a junior last year. Oscar Hall from the UK on the outside of row number 7. Ahead of Germany's Fabian Bock and Harley Horton from Great Britain, that's row number 8. Danny van Dijk from the Netherlands and Lars Zanen from Belgium, that's row number 9, with the sole Turkish competitor, Ehad Turka himself, with a big thank you to Nazmina for the Turkish Delight chocolates last night. They will be well enjoyed at some point in the not too distant future. And then we'll have Senna Beheads rounding out the top 20. A shout out from Cara Higgins. Good luck to Matt in 375. I'm sure he's going to do you proud, Cara. And then we've got Lukas Scherbinskas. We've got Flint Schuring and Yash Ramajankan on row 11. Lukas Scherbinskas and Jeff Machiels rounding out the top 12 rows with Cornelia Olkuka and Bradley Barrett, who starts from the 26th and final position after an amendment to the results yesterday evening. But I know the calibre of Bradley. He has showcased that he can fight through the field as well as lead at the top at the sharp end. So we'll see how the Brit gets on. So Butcher, Higgins, Lystra, Clinton, Boulou, Thompson, Henson, LaHaye, Rundqvist and Schuring, Maurice Schuring, that is your top 10. 7 minutes set on the timer as we are about to welcome Senior Rotax to the BNL kickoff. They come round the final corner. Into the tram lines we go. The revs on the Rotax racing engines roar into life. We go, lights out. Higgins trying to keep it planted on the outside as Lystra tries to force his way through. And it's side by side nearly for second position as Higgins now gets the lead through turn 3. He was allowed to use the runoff on that particular point on the first lap, as there is a lot of action happening towards the back part of the top 15. So already, just by having a quick look at the start, what I found was that Butcher had it planted on the inside, Higgins to the outside, Lystra behind Butcher, and Lystra was trying to force his way through into the lead, but then Higgins just used a little bit of that runoff area, which gave him the purchase he needed, but Butcher hot on the heels. As we've then got Teddy Clinton just behind by about 3 kart lengths going into turn 10 for the first time. Jankan drops into 21st. Harley Horton up to 15th. Patrick Rundqvist and Linus Henson 7th and 6th respectively. As now there has been a few changes here. Several are dropping down. One of them is Dylan LaHaye, apparently. He's all the way down into around about sort of 21st position. And Lukas Scherbinskas is right at the back part of the field and hasn't even made it through, I think. I'm just keeping an eye, and there is Scherbinskas with that sort of Volkswagen Polo Harlequinesque colour scheme there. So in many respects... Now let's have a look at the replay here. Oh, now there was a collision between the pair, and someone has got a front Nassau out of place. Oh, Bradley Barrett has to whack on the anchors going through into turn 6. Now Bradley Barrett is up into P20 despite having to take significant avoiding action right then. So Higgins now leads, Lystra now into second, Butcher being pressurised by Clinton, who goes up the inside of his countryman through into turn 2. And now it is starting to concertina. Thompson now on the back bumper of Butcher, and it is a 3-way scrap between the Brits for third place. Butcher returns the favour, and Thompson goes in up the inside of the pair of them. He's side by side with Butcher, down into turn 7. Clinton on the inside forces Butcher wide. And right behind them is Patrick Rundqvist. Maurice Schuring is now in the mix from JJ Racing. And then you've got the 2 Frenchmen of Anthony Boulou and Arthur Roche clearly in the mix. And it's side by side between the 2 Frenchmen heading into turn 10. Oh, this could get dicey. As neatly negotiated there. As Bilou was ahead of Roche. Roche tried to go up the inside and goes up the inside through turn 12. And Thompson now is going to start charging forward. He's now got past Clinton and Butcher. He's got it stuck. Schuring goes up the inside of Rundqvist for P6 through turn 2. Nicely done by the other brother of the brother of Flint, Schuring, who now both run in seniors. So I've now got to start keeping my eyes on the lap time deltas, because Higgins and Lystra have got a gap over Thompson. The gap between Lystra and Higgins, who is leading at the minute. Now Higgins has got a, was a 0.3 of a second advantage. As there's some nice overtaking. That was behind Rundqvist, so that could be that Roche has got up the... that's Rundqvist going past Schuring. So they're swapping positions for P6. And at the minute, Higgins now continues to lead. We head on to lap number 5, 3 minutes and 14 plus an additional lap left to go of this race. And Higgins now being pressurised by Lystra as Teddy Clinton has got past Harry Thompson for third place. Butcher still waiting in the wings as Sherbinskas still circulating as Thompson switches it back up the inside of Clinton. Butcher going side by side with the Dan Holland Racing driver and takes the place. That's P4 in turn 7. So nicely timed there by Butcher, using the slipstream to absolute perfection. And you can just see the amount of drivers that are using the slipstream. And then I look back to where we have got Jules Castro, and there is a swarm of colour. And there's quite a few GKS Lemons Power drivers intermixed with that. And someone who's gone very wide is Fabian Bock from Germany. Oh, the 320 of Harley Horton nearly comes a cropper on the approach into turn number 12. And you can... and I've just seen that Fabian Bock has just said to Dylan LaHaye, come on, get on with it. Let's move forward. Let's stop scrapping. And it's 3 wide, and someone's gone very wide off the runoff area off of turn number 2. That was a GKS coloured driver, but... in terms of livery, but I could not see who that actually was. But Higgins holding on at the minute from Lystra for the lead of the race. They have absolutely cantered away from those battling over P3, which is currently being led by Thompson. Butcher in 4th place. Then you've got Teddy Clinton, and coming with them is Sweden's Patrick Rundqvist. So Rundqvist definitely looking very, very optimistic of a potential top 5 finish. As we have a mechanical black flag, and it goes to Anthony Boulou from France. The 307 gets the mechanical black flag. That is now going to promote the likes of Schuring, Castro. So as we've had quite a few other changes along with that. But in the meantime, Harry Thompson has got away. He's got away from Teddy Clinton, who is now coming under the dual KR Sports salvo of both Butcher and Rundqvist, as Butcher bump drafts going into turn 7. We're fast running out of time as, again, the 307 of Anthony Boulou, currently circulating in 9th, will have 2 more laps to park the kart. That is it. The Frenchman's drive in this race is over and done with, unfortunately. It's about 2 to 3 kart lengths between Higgins and Lystra. It was 0.3 of a second last time around. Lystra's trimmed the gap, I would say, by nearly 0.5 of a second. Thompson still holding station in 3rd. Clinton holding off both Butcher and Rundqvist. Then we've got Castro Van Dyke. We've got Maurice Schuring, Dylan LaHaye, Arthur Horsch, Oscar Hall, Yash Ramajankan, Jeff Mahiels and Fabian Bock, rounding out the top 15 positions. Bradley Barrett all the way up into 17th, having started from 26th place. As Boulou has now parked it. Lukas Schabinskas has unfortunately called it a day on this particular heat, so the German will have 1 more heat to contend in. As we have had the timer expired, the last lap board will be first seen by Dan Holland Racing's number 375, the Welsh wonder that is Mr. Matthew Higgins, followed by Boovin Power's Luca Lystra, then Harry Thompson from SP Motorsport. Then it's Teddy Clinton, Sean Butcher, Patrick Rundqvist, Jules Castro, Danny Van Dyke, Maurice Schuring, Dylan LaHaye, Arthur Horsch. Yashram Jankan has got past Oscar Hall for 12th place. But the battle, I fear, is not over yet, as it's nearly 3 abreast. Oh, that was close. Bradley Barrett was actually the one that profited from that slightly, so Barrett now, I think, might be up into as high as 15th position on that particular occasion. So the leaders now come through turn 9 for the final time, as there is more argy-bargy, and it's happening from 4th downwards, up down to 6th place. And then you've got the battle behind from 7th to 10th, which looks like that Dylan LaHaye is looking to get past Maurice Schuring, but the checkered flag, and what a way to start his senior Rotax debut weekend. Matthew Higgins wins at Karting Genk in senior Rotax Heat 1 ahead of Boovin Power's Luca Lystra. 2 Brits in the top 3, thanks to Harry Thompson from SP Motorsport. Teddy Clinton hung on right until the checkered flag to finish P4, ahead of Sean Butcher and Patrick Rundquist, making it 2 KR Sport drivers in the top 6 positions. Danny Van Dyke, 7th. Maurice Schuring, Jules Castro and Dylan LaHaye round out the top 10 positions. Arthur Hosch, 11th, ahead of the Netherlands' very own Yashrama Jankan. Oscar Hall from Great Britain was 13th. Jeff Mahiels and Germany's Fabian Bock round out the top 15 positions. Vincent van Kerkhoffen 16th, ahead of Linus Hensen. Bradley Barrett having to, I think, fight not just what happened yesterday evening in qualifying, but also having to take decisive avoiding action at turn 6 earlier on in the race to finish P18, ahead of Ehad Turka from Turkey and also Lars Zanen from Belgium, rounding up the top 20. Flint Schuring in 21st. Senna Behetz from Belgium in 22nd. Harley Horton in 23rd. Cornelia Olkuka from Poland and Lukas Scherbinskas being the last of the classified finishers, with Anthony Boulou unfortunately having to park it 3 laps before the end. But what a debut. Now, we've had a 5-second time penalty issued, and that is for the 3:02 of Senna Behetz for using the runoff area. But there we go. Matthew Higgins on senior Rotax debut in Europe takes the win. So congratulations already coming in for Matthew Higgins, thanks to Cara on Facebook. A big thank you to everyone. I think we've got nigh on 70 viewers on Facebook, so please feel free to share the video as much as you can. Watch along with us and enjoy the action. We'll get some driver interviews a little bit later on throughout the day, thanks to Ben van der Stuggen. So looking forward to catching up and working with him. So just looking at some of the, I'll be getting the results here as well, and I've just seen that there's been a bit of a shift around with the positions in where they finished for Junior Rotax, and I have seen that out of the 28 drivers that took to the start, 8 drivers have been hit with a 5-second penalty for front fairings being out of place when they are inspected. So every result that is called by myself is provisional, pending any technical and sporting checks. Looks like UK and Ireland distributor for Rotax themselves, Jag Rotax, have just wished Matthew Higgins a well done for that one. And thank you for watching along with us. Could we ask that driver number 216, driver 216, please report to the stewards immediately. And thank you for the feedback, Jag Rotax. Always a pleasure to hear from you as well. So we'll find out, obviously, as these, I will update you accordingly as per any results that I get up here in the commentary box. So in around 5 minutes' time, we will have our first of 14 minutes plus an additional lap races for Micromax. Our youngest competitors, the equivalent of probably what I would class as cadets in, I over in the UK. And good to see that Micromax has started to flourish a bit more. There's a lot of interest in the United Kingdom through some of the work that I've done over the past year or so, especially after Macaulay Bishop. I have to give that young man a shout out. Second international race meeting, and he goes P2 at the end of the grand finals, and that really puts everyone sort of on notice for that. And don't worry, I'm keeping a keen eye on who is just watching with us. Good to see that Jen Wade is also watching along as well. Good to hear from you, and don't worry, the squirrel's been paid, Jen. For those that were wondering what I'm talking about, well, we made the announcement that we were going to go on Facebook Live, and the squirrel did quite clearly say you had to wait for it. And good morning to you, Jen. So yeah, the squirrel's happy now, Jen. He can go away to his nest for the remainder of the weekend. He's done his job. So at the end of this weekend, we give away 6 tickets to the International Trophy at Le Mans, which, as I said again earlier on, was... okay, thank you very much. 218, I've just been informed. Driver number 218, Junior Rotax. Please return. Please report to the. Stewards immediately. That is Junior Rotax driver 218 to the stewards immediately, please. And that is Tom Bracken from SP Motorsport. François Morel, have a nice race, everybody. Thank you very much, François. Good to hear from yourself. So there is going to be plenty of racing action to take us all the way through to the lunch break, which will be around about sort of, from my side, probably about 1:15 this afternoon, and then we get back racing at 2:15 as we go into the business end of the kick-off. This is not a championship scoring round for the BNL Karting Series. We start that off on the first weekend of April, just 1 week before the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. Bit of news I need to convey. We said on our social media channels late yesterday evening that Senior Rotax is already fully subscribed for the first round. A full... Oh, that's I'm really glad to hear from Tim Sonomans here. Hi Alex, for the first time in 3 years, no driving with Danny, just looking at the stream. Well, I'm glad that you're watching with us. So cheer Danny on as much as you can, my friend. Senior Rotax is already fully subscribed. We have 36 registered entries filled to the brim. We have now set a deadline, not just for Senior Rotax, but also for Junior Rotax and DD2. Now, spaces will fill up quickly, let me assure you of that now. So, for those drivers that want to enter, and I know there are some already, for those that go onto the Rotax Racing app or onto the Rotax EVA system, the entry management system that Rotax use, if you're wanting to compete in the first round of the BNL Karting Series on the 4th of April, you have to choose Max Senior Waiting as your class that you will enter. Those drivers that are already in the 36 strong for Senior Rotax, you have until 5 p.m. Central European Time, 14th of March, which is effectively next Saturday. So you have until Saturday, the 14th of March, 5 p.m. Central European Time to pay your entries. You might have registered, but you won't secure your place on the grid until you have paid. There's 25 Junior Rotax drivers as well. The same applies. I know we've only got 12 in DD2, but again, for them it also applies. So if you have registered your entry, you will get an email notification directly from the championship organisers saying you need to secure your entry by paying it ASAP, and it needs to be done by the 14th of March at 5 p.m. Central European Time. So there are still places available in all the other classes. DD2 Masters, Micromax and Minimax as well. We now get underway with our first of 2 Micromax finals here at Karting Genk, the home of champions, 14 minutes plus an additional lap for our youngest class out of 6. And your grid is as follows. SP Motorsport's Dean Hugendorn is on pole position, ahead of Tom Pappenberg from the Netherlands. So it's an all-Dutch front row, 98 and 48 respectively. PG Motorsport's Karel Stout in the number 33, representing Belgium, is on P3. And alongside him is the 2020 Rotax Max Challenge Winter Cup champion, Scott Marsh, running in the number 47 with Dan Holland Racing. Mies Houben and Van Rooyen round out the top 3 rows. So that's an all-Dutch row number 3. Mick Vandenberg and Boris Maximov are rounding out the top 8 positions, along with Sweden's Erik Poulsen, Jake Menton from the Netherlands in 10th, and Tihon Rodkin rounding out the 11 strong, I think the sole Belarusian in this particular category. With the Netherlands having a monopoly on this one, with 7 drivers, the most represented nationality in this particular category alone. And just by having a look through the information that I gathered ahead of this race weekend, the Netherlands have actually got the highest representation, even though they are tied in 2 classes, in micro, mini, junior and senior this weekend. Quite an impressive 4 out of 6 classes, and they have as many drivers as they can. So once again, it's Hugendorn on pole, Pappenberg alongside, and we will not have Jake Menton taking part, so we're down already. So Menton having a breakdown on a mechanical side on what is effectively between turns 3 and 4. So 10 drivers, so it's Hugendorn, Pappenberg, Stout, Marsh, Houben, Rooyen, Vandenberg, Maximov, Poulsen and Rodkin. That is the 10 strong. Hopefully we'll see Menton back in the thick of the action for the second final. So Jake Menton's charge towards the ticket to Le Mans has unfortunately ended up into a mechanical roadblock that he did not want at this particular moment in time. So it will be down to Hugendorn and Pappenberg on the front row. Micromax get ready for action here at the kickoff. We go into the tram lines. The engines roar up the rev range. We go lights out. We head down towards turn 1. As they're getting very, very close indeed. Oh, Scott Marsh has been spun! Or did that happen inadvertently? He might have been an unwilling participant, but Scott Marsh down to the back part of the order. Who is that at the back part of the field? Because Scott Marsh, from what was 4th on the grid, now has an incredible amount of work to do, but I know the pedigree of the youngster from the UK. He can push forward, and he will use British gusto and resolve to do so, as the drivers now who are leading the field will be heading through into turn 9 first time, and it's a 5-way scrap at the front of the field. The replay showed that Scott Marsh ended up being turned around, as it is still Hugendorn leading, as there looks to be a positional change for P4, and that is Karel Stout, who I think is swapping places, and that looks to be with Mick Vandenberg, who's come flying up the order. So Mick Vandenberg up to P5, and that was Van Rooyen that was also ended up on the outside of turn 2. So Hugendorn has a lead, as Pappenberg coming under pressure from the likes of Houben, Stout and Vandenberg, as Houben ends up slightly tapping the rear bumper of Pappenberg going through into turn number 7. Stout looks to be very racy, shows some good composure, and looks to go up the inside for third place on Houben on the inside of turn 10. Makes the move stick, does the 33. Nice work there from the PG Motorsport driver. We've got 12 minutes plus an additional lap as Scott Marsh now breathing down the back bumper of Boris Maximov. So Marsh, let's see what his lap times are in comparison with, say, Dean Hugendorn, for instance. Scott Marsh has just put in a 1 minute 4.364, and that is about 0.6 of a second off of the leader at the minute. So Marsh and Maximoff battling away, and that is over 8th place. And Dean Hugendorn is in another area code. As Stout going for... Stout and also Pappenberg go into turn 7. Pappenberg ends up going sideways, goes 180 degrees the wrong way, backwards into one of the foam barriers. I'm not too sure whether there was any potential interlocking of wheels, but it looked very, very close indeed, and that means that now we have another driver well and truly on the back foot, as Pappenberg was looking very, very good in second position. Stout had the run going down into turn 7, and I think it was a bit of push. Let's have a look at the replay here. Okay, Stout's got towards the inside line, and I'm not too sure whether Pappenberg may not have looked. I'm not too sure. Driver number 226, Junior Rotax, to the stewards immediately. That's driver 226, Junior Rotax, to the stewards immediately. That's Yuri Jones. So I'm not going to make any comment. I'm not too sure. I didn't really see, but I saw a turn in from Pappenberg, and Stout was committed. So it's down to the race stewards, race control on that one, I'm afraid. But Stout did have a good run, but now they've got to start chasing down Dean Hugendorn, who again is just motoring away. But Scott Marsh has been moving forward and is consistently running in the 1 minute 4.3s. He's just been put in his best lap of a 1 minute 4.307, and that is 0.84 of a second off of the pace that Hugendorn is setting, and that's on his own. That is clearly with him. Clear track ahead as Vandenberg trying to put the feelers out on Huben for third place. As now Karel Stout has a gap of around 5.5 tenths of a second on Huben. And so 0.539. Now Scott Marsh is only 7.3 seconds off of the leaders. We have about 9 or so minutes still to go, plus an additional lap. So on pure pace, if I know for the fact that Scott Marsh has got the bit between his teeth to try and move forward, as Mick Vandenberg looking to be a bit more foreboding on the back bumper of Mies Huben, who's with GKS. So Hugendorn continues to lead. The gap was nearly 2.3 seconds last time around, and now it is 2.4 dead between Dean Hugendorn and Karel Stout, as Mick Vandenberg goes towards the inside to get the outside of turn 2 to try and get the cut back. But Huben's still very resolute, as Scott Marsh now is really battling away and has got Tion Rodkin from Belarus, and Scott Marsh just neatly picks off the Belarusian very, very easily through turn 5. That was a great job by the Brit, and as the late Ayrton Senna said, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver, and Scott Marsh just personified that perfectly right then. So Scott Marsh now will have Erik Paulsson from Sweden as his next target. So Hugendorn still comfortably leading at the minute, as the gap between Huben and Vandenberg was about a car length as they crossed the start-finish line. Vandenberg closing up in the braking zone going through turn 2. Now Scott Marsh, let's have a look at the gap he's got to make up on Erik Paulsson. That looks to be just over 2.75 seconds that the Brit has got to make up. And just looking at the lap times, Marsh is now running. In the last lap around, he did a 1 minute 4.8, so he was battling with Rodkin at that particular moment in time, as both Huben and Vandenberg hustling it through turn 7. Just even though these might be our youngest competitors here this weekend, they are definitely the case of they are showing that they will be fully motivated and committed as best they can. And this is where the drivers do start their racecraft skills, start to get that gauge, and there are some that shine, and there are some that take a little bit more momentum over the course of their rise through the ranks. So now the gap between Vandenberg and Poulsen, which is 4th to 5th, that is 3.5 seconds. Scott Marsh is around 2.8 seconds off of Erik Poulsen, as Poulsen was slightly faster that last time around. As here comes Mick Vandenberg up the inside for 3rd place. Nicely done there. Nicely done there by Mick Vandenberg. But Mies Huben goes back up the inside to retake the position. Vandenberg, if you put this round the outside, a little clash of wheels there, but nothing too out of the ordinary, because the pair gave each other fair racing room, and Vandenberg is absolutely wanting to get that 3rd place back. As Hubens just said, well, work with me. Vandenberg saying, I'm having other ideas, which means that he wants to get past and get 3rd place. 5 minutes and 18 plus an additional lap left to go. Enticing battle. But whilst they're battling away, I'm just seeing that Scott Marsh is consistent on the lap times. He's just put in a 1 minute 3.9, which was about 1.7 tenths shy of the lap time that Erik Poulsen just put in. So Marsh, having started on row 2, now finds himself in 6th place. So after the 2 finals, the tallies for the weekend will be ratified, and the winner will get a ticket to Le Mans, but also in the second race this afternoon, the fastest lap the driver that sets the fastest lap gets a brand new PL8 design race helmet bag to carry around what is effectively, I would like to call, a race driver's identity, a race helmet with their own respective liveries on there. Hugendorn now has a lead of nearly 3.5 seconds over Karl Staudt. Then it is the battle that those who are watching on screen in a minute, it's Mies Huben and Mick Vandenberg battling away over 3rd place at the moment. And here comes Vandenberg down towards turn 7. Oh no, has to back out of the manoeuvre and decides to use discretion as the better part of valour on that particular occasion. So that's 3rd and 4th. Erik Poulsen from Sweden rounds out the top 5 and is just under 3 seconds ahead of Great Britain's Scott Marsh in the 47. Boris Maximoff in 7th place. Tion Rodkin and Van Rooyen rounding out the 9 that are still circulating. Tom Pappenberg, after the contact with Karl Staudt earlier on in the race, has now called it a day on lap number 3. Jake Menton unfortunately didn't even make it to the race start itself. But the battle really that is keeping myself entertained quite a bit is the battle between Huben and Vandenberg. That's the battle for 3rd place as the pair now go down the back straightaway. They put the accelerators to the floor and they actually pass a Renault Scenic that's adjacent to them, or they keep pace with it. So even with the youngsters in the Micromax class, they still can accelerate because the power to weight ratio of a Micromax kart is quite significantly better than a Renault Megane Scenic. And we've had a penalty. The the stewards have decided that Karl Staudt will now have a 5-second penalty. And this is verbatim as per the timings, that they have deemed it unsportsmanlike behaviour and have given him a 5-second penalty, which will drop him from 2nd position. And that will put him 4th at the end of this race, if the way things are going. So Karl Staudt now has some work to do and has already got a 2.9 second advantage over Huben and Vandenberg. So if he pulls another 2.1 seconds out of the bag, well, 2.2, And he's been running in the 1 minute 3s. He's just done a 1 minute 3.049 has Karel Stout. And Huben and Vandenberg are running about, 0.6 of a second slower at the very least, because they're battling away over third place. 1 minute 17 plus an additional lap left to go. As Hugendorn now goes on to lap number 13 of this race. And the gap now, I think Karel Stout has just heard me, because the gap now has increased to 3.585 seconds between him and Mies Huben. And then it's a further 10th back to Mick Vandenberg. And there's a great little battle happening between Van Rooyen and Tion Rodkin, and that is for 8th place at the moment. It looks like I think Van Rooyen might be up ahead at the minute. As Mick Vandenberg has made it stick on Mies Huben for P3. As Dean Hugendorn now comes across the line to start another lap. This will be lap number 14 of the race. Karel Stout just under 2.46 seconds adrift. And then the gap to Mick Vandenberg is a nigh on a country mile, is 4.58 seconds. And again, Mies Huben is now threatening on the back bumper of the 29 for third position. So the timer has now expired on this race. This is the penultimate lap, and Dean Hugendorn from Stampex Motorsport will see it first, ahead of Karel Stout, as, Mies Huben was looking towards the outside of Mick Vandenberg through turn 7, had to slot in behind the number 29. So that battle is far from over, as, Mies Huben up the inside of Mick Vandenberg through turn 9. That was a great job from the GKS Lemons driver, but that is allowing Karel Stout to get away and get more time in his favour. So, final lap board is shown to Dean Hugendorn from the Netherlands. Now Karel Stout sees the sign and puts the head down to get as much aerodynamic efficiency as the kart will allow, with Mies Huben going defensive on Mick Vandenberg as they head towards the kink at turn 1, then brake heavily into 2. Vandenberg a little bit closer up on the braking now, through the left into 3. Now into the turn 4, up to the final of the triple left-hander at turn 5 before the short braking zone for 6. And looks like Vandenberg's got the run on Huben, but he's actually pulled to the left-hand side as they head towards turn 7. And, Karel Stout has done, I think, pretty much enough, because whilst Mies Huben and Mick Vandenberg have been squabbling over what is third position on the road, the gap between Stout and Huben last time around was 5.5 seconds. Checkered flag being prepared for the first of 2 Micromax finals, and Dean Hugendorn wins for SP Motorsports. Second, PG Motorsports Belgian wonder that is Karel Stout. Mies Huben will get the run to the line, or will he? Oh, he shuts the door on Mick Vandenberg as they nearly have a drag race to the finish. Mies Huben finished 6.149 seconds. This is a final call for these drivers. Senior Rotax 345 and driver 226 Junior Rotax. This is your final call. You need to report to the stewards immediately. Yori Schoens, Junior Rotax 226. And then 345, I need Teddy Clinton to report to the stewards as well. So this is your first announcement of that. So Teddy Clinton, 345 to the stewards. But Dean Hugendorn wins from SP Motorsport. Karel Stout, 3.5 seconds adrift, who finishes over 6 seconds ahead of Mies Huben. Mick Vandenberg in 4th, battling right to the checkered flag. Eric Poulsen and Scott Marsh round out the top 6, with Maximov, Rooyen and Rodkin rounding out the 9 that finished, with unfortunately Tom Pappenberg having an early finish on that particular race down in 10th, with Jake Menton unfortunately not finishing, or not even taking the start. Well, for those watching on the Facebook live stream and also YouTube, Ben van der Stukken is back with us. Good to see you there, my friend. Speaking to runner-up in that race, Karel Stout, and also SP Motorsports' Dean Hugendorn, who took the opening Micro Max race here at Karting Genk, the home of champions, for continuing coverage of the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff. So local time, just fast approaching 10:50 Central European time here in Belgium. Also, Christoph Leinen is watching on the live stream, as is Katie Anderson. Hope you're keeping well. I know that Willie's watching as well. I know who you guys are supporting. Lasse Andreasen, also I think is one of our competitors here. So at least we've got people sharing the stream on Facebook Live. It's a new adventure for us here at the BNL Karting Series. A big thank you to our streaming partners, Camp Company GmbH, for all the effort that they've done into making this happen, and it's a real privilege for us to be able to help spread the word of karting. And it's going to be a very exciting season. We now get into the first of two Minimax finals here at the BNL Karting Series kickoff. This time it's Minimax, and some of those Minimax and BNL Karting Series followers might recognise some of the names, whether they have competed in Rotax or whether they have returned to the fold. Mitchell van Dijk will start on pole position, representing the Netherlands. Then we've got Thomas Strouwen from Belgium, Casper Schormans and Jasper Leenerts, who is running in GKS Lemon's Power Colours for 2020. They round out row number 2. Then we've also got Rino Franco from the Netherlands. Len Nys, you might remember this guy from Micromax last year, competed at the Grand Finals for Team Belgium. He's been racing in Italy quite recently, but last minute shoe-in for Minimax. Olivier Jonkers and Colin Vasny, one of who are on row number 4. Vasny, one of 2 Polish drivers in this encounter. Sam Bollen and Thyman Huben in rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Daniela Chernega, Karol Kaminski, Lawrence Herbots and Jens Troyer rounding out the 14 strong. So again, we'll have 14 minutes plus an additional lap in this particular encounter. And with regards to them, their second and last race will be at 3 p.m. local time. Micromax will have their second final at 14:35 local time. And already, Mitchell van Dijk and Thomas Strouwen starting to make sure that the field will start to concertina in due course, which is now starting on the exit of turn number 9. That's great work from the two on the front row. Van Dijk with Strouwen alongside. So they come through turn 10. And that is a very neat 2x2 rolling start formation. Ahead of 14 minutes for Minimax here. So let's see how the action heats up in Minimax all the way through the day here at the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff. They go into the tram lines. The anticipation builds. The engine revs rise. We go lights out. And Mitchell van Dijk gets a good start heading into turn 1 for the first time and is absolutely bolted as they're all starting to get the upper hand on one another. And I know that there was one driver that looked to be Thomas Strouwen, I think has dropped to 4th position. Jasper Leenerts might have lost out a couple of places. Len Nys looks to be in anywhere between 5th to 7th by my count, as there are 3 GKS drivers line astern as they head through into turn 7 for the first time. Oh, someone's gone very sideways, off at turn 7, and is out of the kart. So I'm not too sure what happened there, but someone went... Well, I'm not too sure whether they ended up just going off sideways, as the driver's now trying to regain. And now I've just spotted that Len Nyes now is up. He's running the 117 number, and he's up into P5 at the moment, so good work from Len. And it looks like that might be fourth now, as Strauven looks to have dropped down into what is sixth position. Leiners looks to be in 8th place at the minute. Now, and that was Thiemann Huben that went off at turn 7. Who is now back on circuit, as the rest of the field now making their way through into turn 9 here, being led by Mitchell van Dijk. Let's see, I think that Casper Schormans might be in 3rd position. That is the case, as Franco now up into P2, Nyes up into 4th place. As Chernega trying to go up the inside, I think that might have been of Herbots for 11th position as the leaders come across the line. Franco up into 2nd, Nyes up into 4th, Jonkers, Troyer, they all make up positional gains up into 5th and 6th. So Len Nyes is now going to try and be the pace setter for those that are from 4th to 8th position. But Thomas Strauven has got up the inside of Troyer for P6, so ultimately had other ideas. So Jonkers looks to be on the back bumper, I believe, of Len Nyes for what is 4th on the road. It's getting a bit elbows out. I mean, Jasper Lane is trying to go up the inside of Jens Troyer there, through into turn 9, but the 177... not able to do anything at the moment. Now Casper Schormans running with SP Motorsport. He is trying to chase down Rino Franco from the Netherlands. Troyer and Strauven swapping positions again. As now Troyer looks to be, I think, on the back bumper of Len Nyes. Now that is the case. He's going to send it up the inside on turn 5. Oh, that was close. Troyer goes up the inside of Nyes through turn 5. Nyes now will have the run of momentum in terms of the slipstream going down into turn number 7 itself. But Len Nyes now is nearly, well, the person that's in the middle of the 5-kart skirmish is Thomas Strauven. He's being followed by Olivier Jonkers and Jasper Leiners. As Franco now being pressurised again by Schormans, who's about a couple of kart lengths heading down into turn 12. And now we'll probably... let's see if he gets a better exit. He does! He does on Rino Franco. So we'll see how they get on going into turn 1. Yeah, Schormans a bit later on the brakes. As now Len Nyes gets passed by Thomas Strauven. Must have happened, I think, coming out of turn 12 across the start-finish line. So Strauven having the run on Nyes, going into the first couple of corners. 9 minutes and 35 seconds plus an additional lap. And as the back part of the field, there is an absolutely brilliant little scrap going on. As it looks like Lawrence Herbos and Sam Bollen are battling over what is 12th position. So they're swapping positions at the minute. However, Mitchell van Dijk is about 9/10 of a second ahead of Rino Franco, running in 2nd. Then it's Casper Schormans. And it's Jens Troyer, Thomas Strauven, Len Nyes. As Kaminski and Wasny, the two Polish drivers, having an inter-country battle out on the circuit. And they are both from the same squad. So one of the biggest things about racing is the golden rule: never take out your teammates. And they're keeping it nice and planted there are both Wasny and Kaminski, with Kaminski ahead at the moment in 9th position. So running order at the moment, all the way from first to the 13 competitors still running on the circuit at the moment. So it's Mitchell van Dijk leading by nearly a second ahead of Rino Franco. looks like Mitchell van Dijk, at the way he's going, is probably going to catch up with Thiemen Huben very, very soon. As the battle between Strauven and Nice not over. That is over 5th position. But then waiting in the wings there are another couple of GKS 11 power drivers. Olivier Jonkers and Jasper Leenerts. And Leenerts, I think, has got ahead. He has. Nice work by Jasper there. Gets bump drafted from behind. Gets bump drafted by Olivier Jonkers. So keeping pace. I mean, I'm having a look at the lap times between Strauven, Nice and Leenerts. And they're quite comparative. Leenerts is actually the fastest out of them. Fastest lap of the race so far is Jens Troyer at 59.825. Troyer's currently running in 4th place at the minute, so 59.825, and has gone fastest along with Nice and Leenerts. They're running in a 24.0 on the first sector, and it's the second intermediate. The majority of the field, apart from Kasper Schulmans, was running in a 17.7. Oh, Jens Troyer right on the back bumper of Kasper Schulmans, going through the final corner for 3rd place as we hit half-time on the clock. And Jens Troyer slingshots past Kasper Schulmans into turn 1. Oh, they tussle a little bit. Might have been a little bit of slight wheel interlocking there. But Troyer was absolutely committed and just literally decided, I'm going to put it past Schulmans, and as now, Huben now gets passed by, as blue flags now being waved, so Huben now having to slow to a crawl to let what is effectively the top 8 through, and that's all the way down to Olivier Jonkers. As I'm just keeping an eye on what is happening now. It looks like Jasper Leenerts is closing on Len Nice for position. So, last minute call for Len. I think, well, it was a last minute decision or a call saying, can you run in Micromax this weekend? Len went, yeah, I could do with some time behind the wheel. So, Len Nice just puts in his personal best, a 59.918. Jasper Leenerts was the second quickest out of those drivers in positions 5 to 7, with Strauven being fractionally slower, but not by much. Leenerts lost out a 10th in the first sector. Nice was quicker by a 10th in the second sector on the previous lap. So we have Van Dijk leading. Franco is now having to battle away with Jens Troyer, who's put in another fastest lap of the race, so 59.692. Mitchell van Dijk heads towards turn 12, as Jens Troyer will get the run on Rino Franco this time around. And could he do a repeat of what he did to Kasper Schulmans? Not quite. But Schulmans, in the meantime, is going to come under pressure. Oh, nice bit of moving there from Len Nice. I think that Thomas Strauven might have been caught unawares there. So Nice up. Oh, yep, Troyer's gone for the move and got it up the inside of Franco through turn number 6. That's for second on the road. And Van Dijk was actually the quickest of the top 3 on that particular lap alone. So it's Mitchell van Dijk, Jens Troyer, who is being having a counter-attack thrown in his general direction by Rino Franco. Then we've got Schulmans, and here come the likes of Nice, Strauven, Leenerts and Jonkers. And that's going to be a very interesting battle indeed, or as Jonkers dropped off a little bit. Jonkers did a 1 minute 1, a 1 minute 2 last time around. Leenerts did a 59.9, has just done a 1 minute .152. So Schulmans, I think, is going to have to keep an eye on what is happening behind him. So Strauven just ahead of Jasper Leenerts, who rounds out the top 7 at the minute. We have about 3.5 minutes plus an additional lap still to go in this first of 2 Minimax races. And the driver that sets the fastest lap in the second race in Micromax will pick up a brand spanking new PL8 design race helmet bag. As Jasper Leenaerts, I think, has just sort of like done the old finger waggle, which is like, right, okay, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. He's found a good home at GKS, has Jasper. As Len Nyes looking a little bit menacing on the back bumper of Casper Schormans. Oh, this is going to get really, really spicy very quickly. Now Schormans has got to watch it because he hasn't got just Nyes behind him, but Leenaerts has got past Strauven, more importantly, for 6th place. So Schormans has now got less than 2.5 minutes plus an additional lap. 4th to 7th come through the right-hand sweeper at turn number 8. And there is a little bit of daylight I've just seen between Jens Troyer and Rino Frankot, who have just come through turn number 10. Schormans is being... as Len Nyes looks behind over his left shoulder and sees Jasper Leenaerts behind. So, as Leenaerts is on the back bumper of Nyes and bump drafts him. Oh, Nyes goes up the inside of Schormans to take the place. Takes P4. So that little assist from Jasper Leenaerts helped Len Nyes no end there and used it at the right time. Struck whilst the iron was hot. So now Jasper Schormans down into 5th position. And we now see that Thomas Strauven has gone up the inside of Jasper Leenaerts for P6 through turn 7. So I think Leenaerts was at a bit of a disadvantage having that, being ahead of Thomas Strauven. But it could be that the boost is on the other foot, so to speak, very, very shortly, as Mitchell van Dijk did have a 1.9 second lead over Jens Troyer. And it's 1.901 seconds exactly. Franco rounds out the top 3. Len Nyes is now having to battle and defend against Casper Schormans, as Thomas Strauven and Jasper Leenaerts, they round out the top 7 positions. Jonkers now holding station, a little bit lonely, I might add, in P8. Colin Vasny has the upper hand at the minute ahead of Karol Kaminski, fellow Polish driver, also from the same team. So they have been battling away. A little bit of a bump draft for Kaminski on the back bumper of Colin Vasny. But Schormans has now got past Nyes, and that is for 4th place. Mechanical black flag for Sem Bollen in the 144. Last lap board has been shown to Mitchell van Dijk, so the timer expired as he came out of the final corner. Troyer and Franco, 2nd and 3rd. Schormans, Nyes, Strauven and Leenaerts. Between Schormans and Leenaerts, it is 0.42 seconds. So now it's a little bit of a game on and scrabble amongst yourselves for the scraps. As there goes Strauven up the inside of Nyes for position. Strauven on the back bumper of the 117 heading into turn 7 for the final time. With Vasny still ahead by a mere fraction ahead of Kaminski. So the checkered flag now being prepared for Minimax final number 1, round the final corner. It's been pretty much a steadfast performance for the Netherlands' very own Mitchell van Dijk, who wins, punching one hand in the air for victory. Well done to Jens Troyer, taking 2nd place. Just under 2.1 seconds adrift. Rino Frankot rounds out the top 3. Casper Schormans manages to fight back and take 4th place ahead of Thomas Strauven, with Jasper Leenaerts taking 6th ahead of Len Nyes. Olivier Jonkers was a further 1.9 seconds adrift of the 117, ending up in 8th position. And then Karol Kaminski won the inter-Polish battle with fellow teammate Colin Vasny in the 162, taking 9th place. Lawrence Herbos would round out the top 11 from Belgium in the 106, with Sem Bollen and Danila Charnega rounding out the 13 drivers that finished all 15 laps, with Tiemann Huben rounding out the 14 strong, with all drivers finishing what was an interesting Mini-Max final number 1 here at Karting Genk. Thank you very much, Ben, in the pit lane. Once again, good to hear the thoughts of the drivers. Of course, we have an international field here at Karting Genk, the home of champions. So all results are provisional, pending any technical and sporting checks post each session. Coming back to Senior Rotax, our first of 3 heats earlier on today. The 302 of Senna Behetz actually received a 5-second time penalty for using the runoff area later on in the race. They can use it on the first lap, but after then it will be policed heavily by race control. And quite a few drivers I see that ended up having 5-second front fairing penalties. Again, 8 in that particular encounter. But we are just seconds away from our second, it looks like, second Junior Rotax heat here at the Home of Champions for the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff. Good to see some other familiar faces that I've met on my travels. Andrea Giustini from Vroom. Mike Copping, now with Club 100, who run in association with Rotax. Good to see you all watching as well. Uwe Steinert as well. Quite a few others. So please feel free to share the video. I hope you're all enjoying the coverage so far. We are running all the way through to around about 1:15 before we go on the lunch break. After the main bulk here of the BNL Karting Series kickoff. So the podium presentation this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, here at the circuit will take place at 5:20. So it's time for our second Junior Rotax heat, and your grid is as follows. On pole position is Tim Gerhards, last year's 2019 BNL Karting Series Minimax champion. The one half of a set of twin brothers. Farin Mega lines up alongside in his second and final heats. We'll then have Oscar Christiansen and Patrick Knowles Lokmelis, Christian de Klein and Milan Ritter round out the top 6 positions. Ahead of Luke Neeson, Tommy van der Stroys, Arvid Rosen and Magnus Pedersen from Denmark, who round out the top 10. Nikita Genzer, Maurice Schmeis, Germany's Austin Lee, Max Knappen and Lucas Schoenmakers from the Netherlands round out the top 15. Marius Roos from Denmark, Tom Brache from Belgium, Nathan Schaap, Astrid Almlof and Joris Peters round out the top 20. Rounding out the 29 strong, it is Maxim Sachurko from Belarus, Enzo Bol from the Netherlands, Alex Mikos from Poland, Larke Ron Sorensen from Denmark, Variato Wildeman from Germany, Gilles Clouet from Belgium, Roman Sakovsky from Belarus, Nick Gerhards from the Netherlands, and Daniel Ginchard, who was excluded from qualifying due to a technical infringement yesterday evening by the smallest of tolerances. But we have seen, as Henry Baudet would say, a top gear from the rear from Mr. Ginchard before. Remember, BNL last year, when he was pulled off the grid, started from the pre-grid and made his way fighting back at Marienburg. Could we see a repeat? He showcased pace with KR Sport at the Winter Cup at Camp PRC, fought his way back through the field in the early heat stages. Let's see what he does this time. 7 minutes on the clock, plus 1 additional lap. Grab a seat, hold on to your hats. 29 drivers. This is where things really start upping the ante. The anticipation is that thin, you could cut it like a knife through warm butter. But here we go. Red lights on the gantry. They go into the tram lines. We are racing! Great hole shot from Gerhards to get the initial advantage over Oscar Christiansen. And there is an absolute pandemonium-stricken kart. Well, there's one kart that's actually ended up the wrong way. That could be Christian de Klein. As there's more incidents. And that's off of... Now, there is a SP Motorsport driver that is now getting back into the kart. So if, I'm going to keep my eyes out for a replay on that, because that was... they all went steaming into turn 1, but Nick Gerhards leads from Oscar Christiansen as Farin Mega trying to go up the inside into turn 9. That could be on Milan Ritter. So Ritter now up into P3. So So, looks like, no, Christian declined. Now, here's the replay. Let's have a look. It all kicks off from around about 15th position. Oh, now that was a big hit. A big hit, but the good thing is the drivers managed to carry on competing. So it is really, really tense. When you get 29 drivers, and when I tell you that Dan Ginchard is now up into 20th. So he has taken a bit of an advantage as there is more positional changes going through turn 6. That's a real good position, camera position there from our crew here. But at the minute, Tim Gerhardt is trying to break the momentum for the two behind, and that is Milan Ritter and Oskar Christiansen. Christian Decline is being followed by Farin Mega, Patrick Nolslock-Mellis and Magnus Pedersen. Tommy van der Stroy's up to 8th and could move forward. We saw in his first heat, he got P4 at the end of it. So Larkeron Sorensen is out. That's a real shame for the young Danish driver in the 232. And I think Nick Gerhardt was actually, so both twin brothers in this race, and Nick Gerhardt has just come through to complete a lap and is about 18.5 seconds off of his twin brother, who is leading, as there's plenty of action that is happening down into what is turn 7. And Arvid Rosen, that's 12th position. So Rosen is battling away with Nathan Sharp, Austin Lee, formerly of Portland, Oregon, but now Nuremberg, Germany. Hence the fact whilst the youngster running with a German licence and running under the same stable as Vahin Mega, who's currently in 5th at the minute. Amluf up into 18th behind Dan Ginchard. Now Ginchard is making headway. Ginchard's up into 13th, and we are only on lap number 4. I did say this might happen. So Ginchard, let's see his pace. 57.188. The fastest driver out there, however, is the 218 of Tom Brache, who's currently running in P10, as there's definitely some great action happening as the race has now come to that point where it's starting to get into a rhythm, but it's not as chaotic as what we saw on lap 1. But in the meantime, Christian Decline has got past Oskar Christiansen for 3rd place, coming through turn 9. Farin Mega trying to get the jump on the Dane, going through into turn number 12, having exited quite neatly out of turn 11, and gets on the back bumper of the 262, down in towards turns 1 and 2. Decline's gone for second. He's got it. That was neatly timed up the inside of Milan Ritter. So effectively, that means that Christian Decline has to decimate over the next 2 3/4 minutes, plus an additional lap, probably around a 1.5 second gap, because Tim Gerhardt has not looked back. He's kept the blinkers on. He's kept concentrating on the job at hand, which is to lead when the lights go out and get to the checkered flag first without having to worry about the opposition. But I am now seeing that Tommy van der Stroys looks to be in 6th position. Again, another great performance from the young Dutchman. But now it is the 3-way scrap over 3rd between Ritter, Christiansen and Mega is starting to heating up. That's going to allow Tommy van der Stroys to close in. But then you have to look behind the 254. Lucas Schoenmakers, Tom Braken, Patrick's Nolslock-Mellis as Mega right on the back bumper of Christiansen, but has to lift off heading into turn 7 to then put the anchors on. Max Knappen up into P15. Austin Lee just outside of the top 15 in 17th position. Dan Ginchard is absolute. Oh, it's a 3-way scrap for 3rd going into turn 10. Farin Mega's gone up the inside. Oh, they clatter into each other. And that is the 220 of Milan Ritter that gets spat out as a result of it. Mega went for it, had the line, and this has absolutely turned it on its head. With literally moments to go in the race, we have just over a minute to go, And I'm not liking what race control are going to have to look at right now, because that was, if we can get a replay of that, I'd love to take another look at it and look at it in a bit more detail. But it has changed everything in that sort of respect. Right, let's have a look. Mega, oh no, Mega went up the inside. Christensen was sandwiched in the middle. Ritter and Mega go literally diagonally in. Christensen's got nowhere to go. That was just absolute carnage there. But there is still light at the end of the tunnel for one particular driver who's now in 9th position. Dan Ginchard from stone dead last is going not just for 8th, he's going to try and go for 7th. He's giving a bump assist for Lucas Schoenmakers, who decides to think better of it. But Ginchard has absolutely scythed his way through the field. So Milan Ritter is a lap down, unfortunately, after that turn 10 skirmish. And Ginchard up the inside of Schoenmakers. That's P7. We're now on to the penultimate lap of the race. So Ginchard has got Tommy van der Stroys in his crosshairs. Oh, and he's going to go for it. There he goes up the inside of the young Dutchman through turn 9. Nicely composed there from Dan Ginchard. He's just decided to go, I've got nothing to lose. I've got absolutely nothing to lose. And he's going to go for it. And Van der Stroys was about a second ahead of, second behind Foreign Mega. Now Mega, between him and Dan Ginchard, there is a gap of only 6.5 tenths of a second. And that is closing. That is closing dramatically in that respect. So Ginchard will have 6 more turns after turn 6 to try and get P5 from P29. And he's closed up to Mega in the braking zone. Just behind Tommy van der Stroys has got Lucas Schoenmakers and Magnus Pedersen just behind. As Christian de Klein has been closing the gap on Tim Gerhardt, who has stayed at the front of the field. And there is a time penalty, and that is being given to Oscar Christensen. So Christensen will get a 5-second time penalty as Tim Gerhardt takes a junior Rotax victory. Christian de Klein in second. Now Oscar Christensen, I'm going to wait to see what it says on the time penalty side of things, because that will drop him possibly out of the top 5. Tom Braken 4th, Foreign Mega 5th, Dan Ginchard from stone dead last to 6th. Tommy van der Stroys in 7th, Lucas Schoenmakers in 8th. Magnus Pedersen in 9th, Patrick Snows Nokmelis in 10th, Maurice Schmeis 11th, Arvid Rosen 12th, ahead of Marius Rose, Max Knappen, Luke Nason, Nikita Gense, Alex Mikos, Austin Lee, Enzo Paul and Joris Peters rounding out the top 20. Astrid Amlöf from Sweden 21st ahead of Sarkovsky. Nick Gerhardt who recovered to 23rd ahead of Germany's Variato Wildemann. Gilles Chloé, Nathan Schaap and Maxim Sachurko 27th, with Larkeron Sorensen being eliminated on the very first lap of the race, and Milan Ritter now unfortunately on lap number 7 after that turn 10 skirmish, retiring on lap 7 itself. Right then, 30 seconds to go until our next heat, and this time, once again, we return to Senior Rotax. So, their second of 3 heats. Senior Rotax will close out the morning's action here at the home of champions, Karting Genk in Belgium, with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, in the commentary position, and Ben van der Schucken, our man, in the pit lane, trying to speak to the drivers whenever we get a welcome opportunity. You thought the Junior Rotax second heat was going to be one that was going to have a lot of action. Just check out the field we have for Senior Rotax. Groups A and C. This is heat number 2. Lewis Gilbert and Matthew Higgins make it a Scotland-Wales. It sounds like a rugby match. Scotland-Wales front row, even though they are both from Great Britain. Andreas Hebauer and Teddy Clinton. That is row number 2. Mads from Denmark and Harry Thompson on row number 3. Victor Plateau and Dylan LaHaye make it an all-Belgian row 4, ahead of the returning Robert De Haan, who I caught up with this morning. Blimey, that kid shot up. He's taller than me. And I'm not exactly short, to a point. He's got Maurice Shearing alongside him on the end of row number 5, completing the top 10. Emily de Hoys, of course, today is International Women's Day. We do have several women competitors and also mums, mechanics in the pit lane, people on social media, and also through our BNL Karting Series team. So happy International Women's Day. I'll have to give that a shout out. That is being broadcasted over social media. Emily de Hoys rounds out the top 11 ahead of Arthur Roche. Then we've got Luca Thiel, Oscar Hall, Storm Breuer, Harley Horton, Robin Knudson, Lars Zanen, Antoine Ontier. We've then got Senna Behet, Bart de Wit, Yashram Jankan, Christopher Saxe, Jeff Mahiels, Stefan Christensen. Bradley Barrett will start on 26th position ahead of Jaroslav Zimaszka. Could I call this driver number 144? Minimax Sem Bollen to the stewards immediately, please. That's Sem Bollen, Minimax driver 144 to the stewards immediately, please. The excitement level, I think, not just in the commentary box, but probably on the screens, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, is going to go up another level. I'm going to try and do my level best to keep up with this, because 27 Senior Rotax drivers, 7 minutes now set on the clock. They better get into formation quickly, because this could be the full start of the day if they're not careful. 27 drivers, 7 minutes plus 1 additional lap. We head into the tram lines. The Rotax Royal returns for this race. We go lights out and racing, and Higgins gets the lead. And Teddy Clinton goes round the outside of Lewis Gilbert. Then you've got Harry Thompson up into 3rd. Gilbert squeezed out a little bit wide. That looks like Mads Rees up into 4th place as it's side by side towards the bottom part of the top 15 going through turn 5. But now, that was a great start from Matthew Higgins. Just punched the throttle when he needed to. Teddy Clinton went with him. Harry Thompson. Now, where is Lewis Gilbert? Gilbert's down in, that looks to be 8th or 9th position in the minute. So Gilbert having to now fight back. The young Scot, based out of Dory. The first half of his nickname, and if you haven't heard it by now, you'll know it now, as it is the Dory Diamond. As Victor Plateau, I think, battling away with the likes of Gilbert. Oh, that's very close. No, Dylan LaHaye is in there. Robert De Haan is also trying to make his presence known. Now, Robert has had... he's been racing in Italy quite recently. I heard a bit of a story. He's been using other people's race helmets. So, including a certain photographer, Vincent from FM Images. Good to catch up with him yesterday. So good to see that Robert's here with us. He was like, oh yeah, last minute call up or last minute decision. Good that he's on the grid, because we could expect some fireworks from him, and he was very accomplished as a junior. Now we can see him in full flight as a Senior Rotax driver, whilst Mads Rees is going up the inside of Harry Thompson through turn number 10, and that is for second on the road. Higgins is running away with it at the minute. We've got 5 minutes and 10 plus an additional lap to go. So Matthew Higgins has a comfortable 1.5 second cushion over Mads Rees, who has Thompson, Clinton, now Gilbert, LaHaye, Herbert, Schuring, De Haan, Plateau. That's the top 10. Horton all the way down into what is 27th position. Emily de Hoys is not that far away from Victor Plateau. Give that 0.5 of a second. And the JJ Racing driver from the Netherlands has made the move, I think. I think she has got into the top 10. Now the work can start. That's great work from Emily de Hoys. She's going to get very close. Well, yeah, it's not quite happened yet. She's still behind Plateau, as that was a send and a half from Gilbert up the inside of Teddy Clinton. Clinton runs wide. LaHaye capitalises and goes up the inside of the Brit. Here comes Andreas Herbert. Meanwhile, Schuring in the 315, that's Maurice Schuring, is being pressurised and gets slipstream past by Robert De Haan going into turn 2. And then you look a little bit further down the order. I think I've just been keeping an eye on what's been happening a little bit further back. Storm Brouwer's in the mix, Oscar Hall is in the mix, Yashram Jankan is as well, Bart de Wit down there in 18th, Jeff Michiels in 19th. Christopher Saxe, Antoine Antier, that's the bottom part of the top 21. As now Higgins had a 1.1 second lead over Mads Rees. That was quite a bit quicker. 54.916 from the Dane, whilst oh my goodness, Antoine Antier makes an absolute hornet's mess of that one going into turn 10. And that was very, very lucky for Teddy Clinton. But Robert De Haan is ahead. De Haan's now up into 6th and trying to pressurise LaHaye for 5th. As now Mads Rees, Harry Thompson and Lewis Gilbert now have to start chasing Matthew Higgins. Higgins has only got a 1 second lead. We have under 3 minutes to go plus an additional lap as Mads Rees will get slingshotted past by Harry Thompson into turn number 7. Now, I think we might have a replay coming up very shortly. Let's have a look at this one. So there's Thompson, there's Rees, there's Gilbert. Clinton, Clinton was on the back bumper of Andreas Herbert, and Herbert nearly gets pushed into the path of Dylan LaHaye. So it was nothing to do with, it was not Andreas Herbert's fault. I think probably when he tried to put on the anchors, he might have just snapped the back axle and had an assist from Teddy Clinton there. But that is not my decision on what happens next, because that is down to race control. As Lewis Gilbert goes up the inside of Mads Rees for 3rd place through turn 2. And you could just see under the brakes that Gilbert, the back end of Gilbert's car was a bit squirrely, as Teddy Clinton trying to fend off Dylan LaHaye for what is P5 at the minute. But this is going to allow the likes of Robert De Haan, Maurice Schuring, now Emily de Hoys up into 9th place. So the 373 trying to get past the 315 as, oh, that's getting very, very close there. Going through, now that was, just seeing who that was, that's Jeff Michiels. And in front of him is Bradley Barrett, who's putting on a recovery drive. The only reason why I can spot him is because he's wearing his Team GB overalls from last year. Good man. Representing country and colour proudly there is Bradley Barrett. So at the moment, Matthew Higgins still leads, but by 0.8 of a second. And on that last lap alone, Harry Thompson was over 0.2 of a second quicker. As LaHaye coming under pressure from De Haan, De Hoys, Schuring, Thiel. It's absolute pandemonium on who is going to end up where, as Emily de Hoys, I think, is on the back bumper possibly of Teddy Clinton. Now, where is Robert De Haan in all of this? He's actually at the back of the train. So a little stumble from De Haan there, and that puts him behind. I think that's Victor Plateau that he's behind at the minute. So Dylan LaHaye trying to get away from Teddy Clinton, who has got Emily de Hoys up close and personal with the rear bumper. So de Hoys definitely looking menacing right now, and behind is Maurice Schuring. We go into the last 30 seconds. Matthew Higgins at the moment has a gap of just under 0.7 of a second between himself and Harry Thompson. As there's a move, that's the move up the inside of Teddy Clinton from Emily de Hoys. De Hoys has made the move stick, and behind there is absolute madness. If that is not a hornet's nest of senior Rotax, I don't know what is. As two go off of the exit of turn 6. Who was one of them? That could have been Andreas Heber again. He had one unwanted incident earlier, and that might have been the second for the Frenchman. We're now into the penultimate lap of this race. Matthew Higgins is now having both Harry Thompson and Lewis Gilbert come at him. And this is where it's going to get interesting. Thompson just over half a second behind. We're on to the last lap. And this is getting very, very interesting indeed. As Bradley Barrett makes a move up. I think now that's past Artur Horsch. I think he's made it up into the top 10 as Barrett. That's from 26 on the grid. Brad Barrett has taken a leaf out of Daniel Ginchard on a recovery drive and a half. That's a brilliant effort from Brad Barrett. Absolutely storming drive from the Sodi Vitesse driver on the 327. We're coming into the closing moments of this race. Through turn 11 springs Matthew Higgins. And he's going to come around the final corner. The checkered flag is going to wave. It's 2 for 2 for Matthew Higgins. What a drive. Last time out he won it. He's done it again. He's put himself into a prime position for later on this afternoon. Matthew Higgins from Tregothlan in Wales makes it double trouble in senior Rotax victories by just 0.383 of a second. Harry Thompson takes second position ahead of Lewis Gilbert. So, well, I'm going to go a little bit off tangent. It's Wales from Great Britain, or Wales from England to Scotland. Mads Dees in 4th, Dylan LaHaye in 5th, Teddy Clinton in 6th, Emily de Hoys in 7th, Maurice Schuring in 8th, Robert de Haan recovers back to 9th place, Bradley Barrett rounds out the top 10, ahead of Jeff Michiels, Storm Brewer, Artur Horsch, Robin Knutsson, Victor Plateau, Christopher Saxer from Denmark, Yash Ramjankan, Lars Zayner, Luca Thiel, Oscar Hall, Bart de Witt, Andreas Heber, Harley Horton, Jaroslav Zimashka, Antoine Ontier, Senna Behetz and Stefan Christensen. But ladies and gentlemen, breaking news from Genk. It's 2 for 2 for Matthew Higgins. Paddock announcement. Could the following Minimax drivers report to the stewards immediately? This is a final call for Sem Bollen, 144. Minimax, you need to report to the stewards immediately. First call for Danila Chernega, 174. Could both driver and entrant go to the stewards immediately? That is 174. Danila Chernega with a final call for Sem Bollen from the Netherlands, 144, to report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. Well, that had everything in it, didn't it, that senior Rotax race? Whoa. Wow. But again, senior Rotax, a category that just continues to be that the pin on the grenade, and it has been quite literally thrown at Karting Genk, and all of a sudden madness ensues. But what a race. What a great job. Just, he's a young'un, is Matthew. Makes me feel old, really. Bless him, at 14 years of age, and he's done that on his senior Rotax European debut. Absolutely brilliant. Coming back to some, I've been looking through some of the results that I've been having. Now, we've had front fairing penalties being issued by Scrutineering and Technical. Cheryl Earp says, well done, Matt. Thank you very much, Cheryl, commenting on Facebook. We've had 9 front fairing penalties in Junior Rotax Groups B and C, and that was the first heat. Minimax, we had a solitary front fairing penalty, and unfortunately that went to Colin Vasny, which puts Colin down into 10th behind Karol Kaminski. We've had also 2 drivers that have been given a 5-second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, 206 and 262. So the revised order for junior Rotax was Tim Gerhard's won it, ahead of Christian de Klein, Tom Braken, Farin Mega, Daniel Ginchard rounded out the top 5, having started 29th and stone dead last. Also noticed that Luke Neeson received a 5-second time penalty for pushing. We also had a further 5 front-fairing penalties. And when a ticket for Le Mans is on the line, you know that everything, the camaraderie in the paddock quickly dissipates to absolute bedlam on the racetrack. But it provides great action for us as always on the BNL Karting Series, which we are really pleased about the interaction that we've had on however many people are watching on our YouTube and Facebook streams respectively. Obviously, thank you to the team at Camp Company GmbH based out of Osterbach in Germany, being our continued stream partners throughout the 2020 season. So we've just got about 4 or so minutes, but still plenty of time to give you a little bit of housekeeping for those watching at home. If you haven't started following us on social media, you can do so at the following places. Of course, if you're watching on the Facebook page, that's great because you've liked it. A big thank you to all those that have made it north of 1,000 likes as of yesterday evening at BNL Karting Series. That's in the engine, the search engine, just underneath the browser bar on your internet your browser provider, whether it's Google Chrome, Safari if you're on a Mac, Internet Explorer, and so many other platforms these days. Also at BMC_BNL on Instagram. We're north of 600 followers on there. Also a big thank you for those. I think it's nigh on 75 strong so far on Twitter at Karting BNL. Of course, you can head to the website for every bit of information about the BNL Karting Series, which is an international series thereof, at bnlkartingseries.com, available both in English and also Netherlands. So feel free to have a look at what, you can also get all the latest timetable information, sporting technical regulations, and also finding out what is going on in 2020. There's a lot of great things happening for 2020. We continue a second year of partnership in terms of audio stream thanks to Downforce Radio, as we are one of the 2 championships that are being broadcasted via Rotax Radio, their official Rotax bespoke coverage, which covers both the Euro Trophy, which will be back here on April the 10th. The entries are still open for that. There's nearly 175 different drivers. We've also got our next round, which will be on the 4th and the 5th of April, so that will be the next Rotax Racing broadcast directly from the circuit here at Karting Genk. So a real great thing to be able to provide it to those that can't be here with us or can't be at home watching on their screens. So we provide as many... we're trying to up the ante in terms of awareness and also of the BNL Karting Series, because it's a great championship, and to be back myself personally for a second successive season. When I first got a call from Dave Ritson, I think it was July 2018, thanks to someone giving me a heads up and saying, whatever Dave says, say yes. And here I am back in early March 2020, ready to embark on my second season with the BNL Karting Series, and to be able to have the opportunity to go to 2 fantastic circuits here at Karting Genk. It is effectively my second commentary home. It's the first ever European circuit I commentated at when I started with the Euro Trophy back in 2018, and now I think I'm trying to remember how many times I'm visiting Belgium. So 4 with the BNL Karting Series, 1 with Euro Trophy, 1 with Germany. Yeah, so I've got a busy year ahead of me, but there's nothing like the Rotax roar in my when it comes to hearing it in my ears. It's always great to be part of the Rotax racing family, and to have the opportunity to be in this privileged position. But we now go on to our next race, which is DD2. So we get on to our first of two 14-minute plus 1 lap encounters for DD2. Your grid is as follows. On pole position, a very familiar face to the BNL Karting Series. He just so happens to be the 2-time reigning and defending DD2 BNL Karting Series champion. Moving Powers, son of Schublak on the front row will have Silas Ritter. Very, very capable young man out of Denmark who took his maiden podium on debut, no less, at the Winter Cup at Karting Campillos just a fortnight ago. So let's see what he has to prove in the BNL Karting Series. Just behind will be Switzerland's Jan Schwitter and Lasse Andresen from Denmark alongside him. Matthias Lund and Mark Dunholm round out the top 6 positions. Completing the top 10, it's Marcel Steinert from Germany, Rasmus Vendelbo for Denmark, Alexander Tsanibekian from the Netherlands, and alongside, I think this is the first time I'll commentate on Mick Knowlton in DD2 itself. Sebastian de Grand in 11th, Jan Negusens in 12th place. Then we have Chris Kopp and Max Fleischmann, Victor Paulsen and Walt Antonissen. Hopefully I've got that right. I was mentioned that this morning. Gilles Puellings in 17th. Russia's Artem Mikhailov in 18th, ahead of Bastian Krapov from Germany. Maxim Dirich from Belgium. Jonas Wolscheid from Germany. Gustav Dahlmann-Birch from Denmark. Brindley Kinch and Adrian Zlanis and Erikas Beliauskas from Lithuania rounding out the order. Good to see that Konrad Bayer, one of our regulars for DD2 Masters, sustained a rib injury back at Campillos, and he said, all the very best, I will be back for the first round. Good on you, Konrad. Normally running with a 5:08 in DD2 Masters. Right, 14 minutes on the clock are set, ready to count down the moment the red light on the starting gantry goes out, and then we'll have an additional lap to boot. So, it is Schublak, Ritter, Schwitter, Andresen, Lund, Duholm, Steinert, Vendelbo, Zanibekian, and Knowlton. Right, that's a full start. That was clearly a full start. So, another formation lap. We were going so well. Sorry. I have to put a bit of a humorous spin on that. But yeah, I think at the end of it all, these things can happen. You know, the drivers get themselves steeled up, ready to race, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't go. But it is what it is. So we'll have a second time at getting this 14-minute race underway. Schublak actually is the 2020 Rotax Max Challenge Winter Cup winner. So he's got a free season pass to the Euro Trophy this year. He missed out on the crown by just a handful of points behind Jakob Bezel at the Wackersdorf season finale late last year. So it's a case of reset and let's go at it again, shall we? Schublak and Ritter on the front row, followed by Schwitter and Andresen. That's the top two rows. They come round the final corner. Do we go lights out second time round? They head into the tram lines Wait for it. Wait for it. We go lights out this time. And Andresen gets up the inside of Ritter going into turn 2 for the first time. Schwitter. Oh, that was a bit of a bump over the curbs there. Who was that individual? Oh, now it's an absolute... Oh. We got through turn 3 and then turn 4 towards the back part of the top 15. 3 into 1 quite clearly did not go. So Shrivlak gets the whole shot and runs away. In customary fashion, I might add. He's not a rookie at this, is Sander Shrivlak. So we have, I think that is Jan Schwitter down in 4th place behind Ritter, and who is behind? That is the 4:35 of Duholm. So the 4:35. So at the minute, Shrivlak after lap 1 is doing a karting equivalent of a Sebastian Vettel masterclass. Get a gap and start getting away from everybody. It is Jan Schwitter who is now into 2nd position. So I thought that might have been Lasse Andresen, but Andresen down in 4th place behind Silas Ritter. And it's Mark Duholm, Matthias Lund, then it's Steiner, Sani Bekian, Vendelbo de Gron now hits the top 10, just ahead of Fleischmann. Knowlton down to 12th, Puellings, Gersons, Antonissen unfortunately is down into 21st now, so he might have been one of the drivers that might have been compromised, not too sure on that front, because when you see them going into turn 1, you don't know how it's all going to pan out, because unlike water, which normally flows into a space, karts driven by motivated and hungry individuals that want to win doesn't really flow in the same sort of ebb, does it? But now the gap has been extended by a further 0.3 of a second between Sander Shrivlak and Jan Schwitter. So that's Belgium leading Switzerland. Then we have a quad of Danes. A quartet of Danes. Ritter, Andreasen, Duholm and Lund rounding out the top 6. So Chris Kopp is in 16th, so has made some moves up the order. Antonissen now behind Mikhailov, who is currently the Russian in the 4:51. They're currently circulating in 18th place. So I'll quickly run through the order as quick as I can, as long as no one tries to... Silas Ritter just stole my thunder there before I even had a chance, and got up the inside of Jan Schwitter into turn 2. Nice work from the young Dane. But now we have Andreasen, I believe, just behind Jan Schwitter. Then behind that is Matthias Lund. So it's quite interesting how, as a commentator, you're going to say something, and then something like that happens. So well done, Silas. I'll be giving you a pat on the back later on. So Shrivlak did have a lead of just over 1.1 seconds. That time around. It could look like it's going to be extended, but I will be honest here that Silas Ritter, when he was racing at Campos 2 weeks ago, was very impressive indeed. The gap has now extended to 1.756 seconds. So Shrivlak leads, Ritter, Schwitter, Andresen, Lund, Steinert, Duholm, Sanibekian, Dukon, Vendelbo, Knowlton, Fleischmann, Puellings, Gersons, Dirk, Kopp, Antonissen, Mikhailov, Paulsen, Birch, Krapoth, Wolscheid, Lazis, Kinch, and Beliauskas. Good to see Katrin Karet is currently wishing Jan Schwitter on. So we'll see how he gets on. He's about 2 seconds off the leader at the minute, down in 3rd place, but is being closed in on by Lasse Andresen, who is looks like he's wearing his Team Denmark uniform. Yeah, that definitely is the case. So Lasse Andresen trying to close up on Jan Schwitter. That particular time he was 0.104 of a second ahead, ahead in terms of solitary lap pace. But Jan Schwitter admitted to me at the beginning of this weekend, as he is now down in 3rd place, he said, I had the 1 lap pace in qualifying, But now I need the consistency. And the consistency, I have to agree with him, was not in his favour last year. No matter what the team tried, no matter what they tried to do in terms of setup, it wasn't the fact that it wasn't helping, it was just that nothing was happening at all. And they were trying so many different things and it wasn't quite working out, but Jan seems to be a bit more consistent, and he is running in the 54.4s between him, Silas Ritter, Lasse Andresen, Matthias Lund, Marcel Steiner, who's now up into 6th place. They're running quite comparatives. The consistency is showing, but then it's about bravery as oh no, 2 have gone off and 1's gone grass tracking. That is 2 RS competition carts. Hang on, there's 3. Hang on, I've just seen 4 go off. Now, what is there on the track? Is there an issue on the track? Now that is 5, 6 carts off. There were drivers going towards the left-hand part of turn 1. Slippery surface flags are out. The rain has come down. The rain has come down at midday, and 5 or 6 carts were incredibly compromised. It is now tippy-toeing. It is not about who's going to get the upper hand on who. It's who's going to finish. So that is absolute drama. I was wondering. So that is a full course. Yeah, the brollies are coming up. So these drivers are going to be very, very, let's just say the word, aware of what is going on right now. And in the lead of the race, Zander Schriblach is not leading anymore. Matthias Lund, and I'm just keeping an eye on the timing screens. Right, this has given me a big insight onto who has ended up off of the circuit. Zander Schriblach, Marcel Steinert, Wout Antonissen is off the circuit. Duhlholm from Denmark. There were several drivers, I think maybe even, let's have a look here. So there are some drivers who I won't think. Now, Maxim in the Diric in the 499, and the rain is hitting the side of the commentary box, so it is coming, and it is coming thick and fast. So the rain was originally predicted for around about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it's hit an hour earlier. Because now it is about who is going to stay on the track. There are some that might be brave and do a bit of a Jensen Button if they can feel what the track is doing, how it's evolving. A very interesting story from when Jensen was actually talking about his late father John, aka Papa Smurf. He said that, Dad said to me, Ray, the reason why they're not allowed to pass is... Well, I've just been handed word from the track officials. It is now being declared a wet race meeting, effective immediately. Hence the silence for about 3 or so minutes' time. So We've got 4 minutes and 10 seconds left to go, plus an additional lap, and it has really changed things in... Yeah, so thank you very much, Conrad Bayer, for saying yes, there are no yellow flags, rather than showing yellow or red, which is only slippery surface, and that's why everyone went off at turn 1, so overtaking is still allowed. If it was a full course caution, then that would not be a problem, because they would not be allowed to overtake, and thereby would fall foul of the race control and the stewards, and it is not getting any easier out there, because at the moment the driver that is leading is Lasse Andreasen at the minute. Matthias Lund and Jan Schwitter ran out the top 3. Max Fleischmann from Germany is in 4th. Mick Knowlton, P5. Rasmus Vendelbo in 6th. Silas Ritter recovers to 7th position, ahead of Alexander Tsani Bekian from the Netherlands. Jan Negusens and Gilles Puellings in 10th place. Victor Poulsen 11th. Gustav Dahlmann Birch in 12th. Mikhailov. I'm just keeping an eye on things because it's changing quite a lot, as there are yellow flags as someone from GKS Lemons Power is beached on the mud on the inside of turn 1. So the rain is causing havoc. Now, who is that? That is not Mick Knowlton, though. That's definitely not Mick Knowlton. That is... I was trying to keep an eye on that particular... It's quite, you try and see who is running where, and it can pull a bit of a flanker, so to speak. So let's have a look. So there was definitely one driver that had a brightly coloured kart and is... So Marcel Steinert, I think, has retired, as has Wout Antonissen as well. So down to 23 drivers. Sander Triblak is trying to make some sort of a recovery drive, but in the conditions that we have, it is not possible. And the reason being is because everything has changed. Mick Knowlton, that might have been Mick actually, that was off the circuit. He dropped down to 7th, but it's as I said earlier, it is survival, and these drivers have to hang on for probably about another 3 minutes tops. So there is going to be dirt on the tyres, the drivers are going to be feeling the cold, they're going to be feeling wet, and there's going to be a lot of cleaning up to do on these karts post-race after they've gone through scrutineering, so a lot of them will be... I've just seen Mick come through, I think that was turn 3. So at the minute, Lasse Andreasen now leads the race ahead of Max Fleischmann. Matthias Lund and Jan Schwitter now round out the top 4 ahead of Belgium's Jan Negusens. Then it's Vendelbo, Knowlton, Sunny Bekian, Poulsen, Ritter, Krapov, Birch, Dahlmann Birch from Denmark, Köp, Mikhailov, Triblak up to 15th now. Last time around he was about 5 seconds adrift of the Russian. Jonas Wolscheid 16th, Brindley Kinch 17th, Gilles Puellings and Adrian Lassis, and Mark Duholm rounding out the top 20. So that's it, the time is up. I think the drivers will all be breathing a big sigh of relief after this one. Just after the round about the halfway mark on the timer counting down. It was several drivers off, and my instant reaction is their fluid dropped on the track, not rain, but could there have been coolant, could there have been oil? It could have been anyone's guess, and then seeing the rain literally off of the, as I saw at least one brolly go up, and that said to me, right, rain's coming. So it's very much a case of just hanging on. Lasse Andreasen will this time around get the final lap board for... So blue flags being waved for some of the back markers, so good work from the marshalling crew. They have been braving the cold and now they have to brave the rain as well. A big thank you to them. Without the marshals, we don't go racing, and a big thank you to them for doing a very hard job. They love motorsport as much as we do, but they are paramount to keeping everything safe out on the racetrack, making sure that everyone is doing their job and very expedient in what they do. So Andresen still leads, but it's now on the final lap, and Andresen now is, in comparison to what you would normally see for a DD2 driver, that is, I think, probably a third, maybe even a quarter of the pace that you would normally see, because of the fact that when you have wet tarmac, slick tyres, no grooves, there is absolutely... It is driving by the seat of his pants, effectively, and through what the input on the steering's doing, because when he puts in, like, the brakes... But a topsy-turvy DD2 race for the BNL Karting Series kickoff is won by Denmark's Lasse Andresen, who survived it all. And what a drive also for Germany's Maxi Fleischmann in second place. Third, it's Jan Schwitter. Fourth is Matthias Lund. Nice work by Belgium's Jan Negusens to finish in fifth place. Ahead of Rasmus Vendelbo, Mick Knowlton takes seventh. Alexander Sani-Bekian, eighth. Victor Paulsen, ninth. Bastian Krapov in 10th. Ahead of Zanop Shublak. Silas Ritter recovers to 12th. Chris Kopp, 13th. Artem Mikhailov from Russia. Gustav Dalman-Birch from Denmark round out the top 15. Puellings in 16th, Kinch in 17th, Duholm, De Grand, Walscheid, Lassis, Beliauskas and De Hitch will round out the 23 that finished the race, unfortunately with Marcel Steinert ending out of the race after turn 2 and lap 7, along with Wout Antonissen from Belgium. Thank you very much, Ben. Good to hear from both Lasse Andresen and Maxi Fleischmann after a chaotic DD2 race. Now we go to DD2 Masters. 7 rows, 14 competitors. And effectively, I see another familiar face. We've got Barry Pullinger. Good to see you. Axel Sarniola as well. Roberto Pajewski. My goodness. Euro Trophy winner. And Grand Finals champion in DD2 Masters last year at Sarno. Good to have you with us. Congratulations, Maxi Fleischmann, says Conrad Bayer on Facebook. So the grid is as follows. Sebastian Rumpelhart lines up on pole position from Germany. Tom Dessert from Belgium. Then it is a all-British Road 2 with James Beecroft racing with Sully Vitesse, and Tamsin Germain in the 525 will be alongside. Alessandro Glauser and Rudy Champion round out the top 3 rows ahead of Christophe Adams and Michael Becker representing France and Germany. I know who you're pining for, who you're wishing is going to win on this one, Conrad, but it's anyone's guess. We then have Andreas Schindler. Good to see him and his fiancée Nadine here with us this weekend. They made a very long trek from Campillos a couple of weeks ago, around about 30 or 34 hours, I think, if memory serves me correctly, from Campillos back home to Germany. Tanya Yildiz is in 10th position ahead of Greece's Christoforos Gratsias. Roland Kinch in 12th ahead of Marco Schelp and Karl Klebert, who was originally on pole position but excluded post-qualifying. So De Backer will have work to do. But the question is, how quickly will he end up at the front of the field? That is my pivotal question here. 14 minutes on the clock, set to count down the moment the red lights on the starting gantry, which are currently ignited, go out. So it is Rumpelhart on pole position. Dessert alongside, followed by Beecroft, Germain, Glauser, Champion, Adams, Becker, Schindler, Yildiz, Gracias, Kinch, Schelp and Klebert. Full start has been called. A bit too spaced out on that particular occasion in terms of the gap differentials between the drivers. So I'm going to be the verbal commentator. Conrad Bayer's going to be the writing kind. And you should know very well, my friend, because you have competed over many a time with that individual. So they're heading down into turn 7. Rumpelhart will stand. Again, we'll try and get things underway very, very shortly. Rumpelhart on pole. Dessert alongside. Then it's Beecroft, Germain, Glauser, Champion, Christophe Adams, Michael Becker, Andreas Schindler, Tanya Yildiz, Gracias from Greece, Kinch from Great Britain, Schelp from New Zealand, and Klebert from Belgium, aka De Backer. He was, his nickname previously was a bit too long, the fastest baker in Flanders, and I'm glad I've got enough time to say that on this particular occasion. So let's see what happens over the next 14 minutes plus an additional lap, shall we? Race director telling them to slow down. We go into the tram lines. There's a bit of bunching up on the left-hand side of the grid as the wind picks up. And this time we do go lights out and Roland Kinch. Now, James Beecroft is actually... James Beecroft... Now, I'm just keeping an eye on what is going on at the front of the field. There is a lot of action happening, and it is from 4th onwards. As I think that's Christophe Adams. Now, is that Karl Klebert halfway through the field, and we haven't even got through turn 7 yet? That is the case. So James Beecroft, I think, came out of the dummy grid, possibly. So Beecroft would have started alongside Jermaine on row number 2, as it's definitely not getting any easier out there for these drivers. As Christoph Adams trying to go up the inside of Andreas Schindler. Oh, and Schindler has to put a save on there going through turn 12. Sideways from Schindler, controlled it as Adams tries to stick his nose in there, as Jermaine is battling away with Beecroft and Schulp towards the back part of the field, so it's not getting easy out there at all, as Jermaine gets passed up for position, and that might have been by James Beecroft, but at the front of the field it could be changing very shortly, as that might have been, just keeping an eye on seeing who's actually where at the moment. Now I see that Rudy Champion that looks to be in 3rd place at the moment. So the drivers now making their way through turn 10, now into 11. And the driver leading that way is Tom Dessert in the 5:30. Then it's Glauser, who's now going to get passed by Carl Klebold, of all people, now up into P2. So Carl Klebold on the hustle. Let's see what his lap time was last time around. 1 minute 2.9. Tom Dessert's got clean air, so it's going to run. Could we have driver DD2 412? That's DD2 driver 412 to the stewards immediately, please. So that's driver DD2 412, which is Gilles Bwellings. Please head to the stewards immediately. As there's more changes for position, as both Tamsin Germain and Michael Becker have got past. Is that Alessandro Glauser that's dropping? That might be the case, because probably right behind is... Oh, no, there's been a little bit of a coming together there between Tamsin Germain and Michael Becker. And Becker ended up off of 4 wheels for a minute. And that has allowed Glauser to get back up in front. And at the moment, the lead is still in the hands of Tom Dessert, who's just put in a 58.8 flat. That is the fastest lap of this race. We still have quite a bit of duration, but we now have, unfortunately, Sebastian Rumpelhardt and James Beecroft out of the running. So Christoph Adams has dropped all the way down to what is 12th. Now there's the replay. Jermaine had the inside line. Becker went to turn to go round the corner and has ended up on the left-hand side. The 2 wheels have gone up and put him in the air. So Jermaine was going for a move, but I think with the conditions as they are, drivers are going to still go for that gap. Now, hang on. I think I just saw someone off of the entry into turn 10. Now, someone's coming into the pits. So there's another driver in the pits. Christoph Adams now in the pits. So Adams now brings us down to 11 competitors, as that is Rudy Champion being chased by Marco Schelp, who's running under the New Zealand flag. Oh, nice work from the Kiwi. That's a brilliant job there. Up into P3, past Champion, the Winter Cup DD2 Masters winner. So, and Klebold has tumbled all the way down. Now, was that him pulling in the pits? Was that a problem from Carl Klebold? So already, the field is dropping. I'm not going to say dropping like flies, because the fact is, you say that, and most of the field will be gone by that particular moment in time. Just over 9 minutes to go. And at the minute, there is Tanya Yildiz, who is actually closing on Champion, of all people. So Tanya Yildiz, this is a great equaliser for him, because he goes up the inside of Champion and manages to make the move stick before going through turn 12. That's a great job from Tanya Yildiz, who is up into P4. That's brilliant work from the German in 572. And Yildiz is running sub 60 seconds in this race. That's brilliant work from him. 59.896, the third quickest driver on the circuit at the moment. Running order at the minute. Tom Dessert from Belgium leads by 12. Now, the rain is starting to come down a little bit heavier now. So we have had, 5 drivers. There's 2 that have pulled into the pits. Andreas Schindler being one of them. Cole Clibort. Right, Cole Clibort's retired. Andreas Schindler retired. Christoph Adams retired. Rumpelhart retired. James Beecroft retired. You could now possibly add Greece's Christoforos Gratsias to that list. We are down to 8 drivers, having started with 14. And we're not even at half-time in this race. As here is Michael Becker on the inside of Rudy Champion through turn 2. Makes the move stick by the apex of turn 3, but Champion tries to stick his nose in up the inside of turn 4. Couldn't quite make it through to the PKS Competition driver. So, still a lot of time left. We are actually at half-time now, as Tom Dessert from Belgium comes through the final corner to complete lap number 7. And here comes Tamsin Germain in the 5:25 from Great Britain, running in second position. See what the gap is between Dessert and Germain, as Champion keeps an eye on, tries to keep pace with Becker. So Schelp rounds out the top 3, Yildiz 4th. And Becker now in 5th place ahead of Champion, having done that move through turn 2 and 3 earlier on, as Champion tries to go a bit braver on the brakes. But with the way that, from my perspective on the commentary box window, it shows us a spittle, but I know that when a race driver's visor gets hit with even the smallest amount of rain showers, it's intensified sometimes as well. So it can sometimes be quite difficult to... It doesn't disorientate it. It doesn't really help to differentiate between, you'll know with a clear visor with no rain on it, so you'll have a better understanding of measuring your braking points, knowing when you have to turn in on the apex, that kind of thing. So it is about judging things as much as possible, and who knows? It's going to be interesting to see. But the gap between Tom Dessert and Tamsin Germain we'll find out whether there is going to be a few changes, and there is a change. Now that is now Andreas Schindler has rejoined. Clairbout has as well. Now the biggest point I have to put out there is that, okay, there's only 2 races, but where you end up at the end of this race helps your opportunity. So it's going to make it quite interesting in the dynamic of how the how you're going to find with regards to as there's more battling away, and that is Schindler trying to hustle his way past Rudy Champion. Tamsin Germain is now putting in the hot laps, so the Brit is the fastest driver out of everyone out on the circuit. 58.334 is her best lap so far of this race. She's got the gap down between her and Tom Dessert, who's currently leading, to around 10.7 seconds. And we have 4 minutes and 10 to go, plus an additional lap. So there is still plenty of this race. There is time in this race for anything to happen. We know in motorsport that it pretty much can do. So there is the 5:33 of Marco Schelp, representing New Zealand. And is about to come across the start-finish line. And now Germain and Dessert are quite consistently, they're comparable on lap times. They're 58.755 from Tom Dessert and a 58.775 on the last time around from Tamsin Germain. So we do have 5 retirements. We're back up to 9 competitors because Andreas Schindler is still wanting to, I think everyone has eyes on that ticket to Le Mans. I know some drivers who would have been here this weekend would have loved to have had that opportunity had they got onto the top step and make use of these weather conditions. So there is still an opportunity for drivers to do so. Whether that is the case, whether it does happen, whether it does transpire by the end of the weekend, is anyone's guess. Yours is as good as mine. So at the moment, Dessert leads. Germain crosses the line, gap now nearly 10.9 seconds. Marco Schub now crosses the line and will be 10.2 seconds behind Tamsin Germain. Next up will be Tanju Yildiz as Andreas Schindler looks to just get some seat time. So Yildiz 33.4 seconds off of Dessert. Michael Becker was 0.23 of a second quicker than Yildiz on that lap, but he is 3.3 seconds adrift. Or 4.3 seconds adrift, my apologies. Yildiz gets sideways, putting on the anchors. The weather looks to be, the rain's coming sideways and it's intensifying. So we have more rain on the cards and it looks that way, I'm sorry to say, for the rest of the afternoon. The downpour's really coming in. It's seriously coming in right now. Air temperature 10 degrees Celsius. There is a south-southwesterly wind of nearly 30 kilometres per hour, 19 miles an hour. And the chance of rain was originally 40%, it's now 80%. So we are fast approaching the end of this race. Kudos to those that have stuck it out as Michael Becker gets a little bit closer to Tanju Yildiz. So Yildiz now just trying to do what he can as Michael Becker does the Matthias Ekstrom kind of shortcut on that curve, but he was still 2 wheels on the circuit. Yildiz goes sideways, the right rear wheel. And he goes spinning! He goes spinning, does Yildiz. And he's punched the steering wheel in front. He's gone, put his hand up saying, sorry. And I'm sure that the other hand is probably gripping the steering wheel tightly and he's probably kicking himself because he was on for a 4th place finish right there and then. So that was very, very lucky where he did spin on the outside of the apex at turn number 5. So we are into the penultimate lap when it comes to Tom Dessert and Tamsin Germain. Now Becker is getting, you can just see the amount of steering input that he's had to put in there. So Yildiz now is Schindler trying to lean into the corner there, leans to the left of the car, the right front wheel goes up. So there is the biggest thing is that even with the wet weather tyres, you're going to have an issue that if you go into a corner too hot, you're going to understeer. Right, Dessert leads by 14.487 seconds as Tanju Yildiz is being passed by, that's Roland Kinch. So Roland Kinch definitely helping his cause no end as we now are on the penultimate lap of the race. So I'm just keeping an eye on where drivers are at the moment. So Tom Dessert coming around the final corner as Tamsin Germain will now exit turn 11 as Dessert crosses the start-finish line for the penultimate time. So Dessert 14.594 seconds ahead of Germain. Schalk will come across the line, I think, pretty shortly. And is struggling a little bit there, I think, because he's down in 3rd place. Michael Becker has got in front. Rudy Champion now on the back bumper of the 5.33 and has got past up the inside of turn 2. So Schelp having a bit of difficulty in the latter stages of this race. And now with the rain starting to intensify that little bit more, even Dessert is struggling, and he's coming through turn 9. You could just see how much of a crawl and how much input they're having to put in, because their shoulders are going to be hurting after this one. Especially when you're having to put in a lot of steering correction, and he's just tentatively coming through turn 11. Now he buries the throttle down a little bit to get to turn 12. Turns in. You can see the car understeering, and he goes really wide towards the outside of the corner very, very quickly there. But the checkered flag will wave for Tom Dessert, who just who puts one hand, so like, yes, I've done it, and just slows down to a crawl, as if to show that everything has gone his way. Tamsin Germain, well done to her for second position, 14.043 seconds off of Tom Dessert. Michael Becker rounds out the top 3 ahead of Piquet's Competitions Rudy Champion. Then we'll have Alessandro Glauser, it looks like, has just crossed the line in 5th ahead of Marco Schelp, who's running under the New Zealand flag here this weekend. And then we'll have the 5.57 of Roland Kinch. And then Tanja Yildiz now coming around the final corner. And wherever Andreas Schindler is, he's just come across the line. So he'll finish 4 laps down with Tanja Yildiz. Could have been a 4th position. He knows it. It's a real shame for the 5.72 from Germany, but still rounds out in 7th place. But Tom Dessert from Belgium in the 5.30 gets one step closer to the top step of the podium, and one step closer to Le Mans this coming July. So we've just got a couple more races to go. The last of our preliminary heats for junior and senior Rotax, set to conclude the morning's action here at the BNL Karting Series kick-off here at Karting Genk, the home of champions. So it'll be groups A and B that will be taking to the circuit for junior Rotax. Again, it will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Just a slight delay at the moment. We should be getting underway very, very shortly. So we're running about 5 minutes slightly behind schedule. Once again, we'll have 29 different drivers battling for positions on the grid, and also for those that won't want to have another race under their belts, because we'll have the second chance heat earlier on this, just after the lunch break. So now with the rain adding a different mix to the set of equations that will bring us to our inevitable conclusion this weekend, as looks like the pre-grid is being cleared. Green flag shown at the start-finish line, and they make their way onto the circuit. So the third and final junior Rotax heat, groups A and B, your grid is as follows. On pole position, it's Tim Gerhards with Thomas Martins alongside on the front row. Oscar Christensen and Jaden Thien, that is row number 2. And behind them will be Christian de Klein and Simon Birch Christensen, representing the Netherlands and Denmark. Luke Nielsen and Valentin Klus round out row number 4, ahead of Sweden's Arvid Rosen and Tern Schmidt from the Netherlands. Nikita Genza is in 11th ahead of Dirk Janssen, with Austin Lee and Sam Bergstein rounding out the top 7 rows. Lucas Schoenmakers and Doig de Decker, that's the top 16. Tom Braken would be joined by David Outleitner, but I haven't seen him on circuit, and neither has the timing picked the young Polish driver up on the timing screens. Astrid Amlöf will be ahead of Bruno Modders, Maxim Sochoko, Jori Schoens, Alex Mikos, Kian Agasade from Germany, Variato Wildermann, Mikkel Gard Pedersen, Roman Sokowski and Danny Van Hoyten. Now, I've also got Dan Ginchard showing up in 29th position, but I'll just wait to see if his transponder comes through, or is there something that might... Now, I can't see the 204 on the circuit at the minute. Whether there has been an issue, I'm not sure, because the rain is going to add a different dimension to this race, as well as the senior Rotax third heat shortly after this one. So it's Gerhards, Martens, Christensen, Thien, Decline, Birch Christensen. As Jaden Thien looks to try and get back into position on row number 2. So it looks like we could be down to 27 competitors. As Jaden Thien, trying to get through into... So should be ahead of Simon Birch Christensen, I believe. So the red lights are on the starting gantry. Let's have a look at this one. We go, lights out. As the 207 of Sarkovsky tumbles way down the order, as it is. They're nearly tripping all over each other. It's 4 abreast. Dan Ginchard fires out of the pre-grid. So, and so does David Oudlin from Poland. So both drivers, as we've got 2 nearly grass tracking, one goes nearly 4 wheels off the circuit, going through turns 4 and 5. As there looks to be Christian Decline, I think, going up the inside of Simon Birch Christensen. Someone's pulled to a stop off of turn 6. So driver is now getting out of the kart. Everyone is just trying to hang on and just keep going forward, as there looks to be a change possibly for the lead. Tim Gerhardt, very sideways, and pouncing past the Dutch driver is, and I'm going to get that number now, is the 255 of Martens. And now here comes Christian Decline into the mix, as they're all scrabbling. It was 3 abreast, and on the inside of it was Pedersen with Mikos and Van Ruysen around the outside, and someone's gone. Someone was going very, very wide. It is not easy. These juniors are trying to put the power down, and when the wheels are spooling up, it's not proving to be that helpful. So sometimes when you try and push the foot to the floor, as we have got another driver off of turn number 2, I asked that driver D2 for 21, Lasse Andreasen, to report to the stewards immediately, please. It is very much who is going to end up surviving, not who is going to get the upper hand on who. It's about who can keep it planted on the tarmac. Tim Gerhardt's now in 5th place. And that looks to be that we've got a couple of drivers. Arvid Rosen, I think, has got past Oscar Christensen. No, actually nearly barrels into the side of Tim Gerhardt, who was running 3rd. And just ahead is that is Drek Jansen I've just spotted. Drek Jansen in the 231, now ahead of pole sitter. Tim Gerhardt's on the road, and the lead of it at the minute is Thomas Martens. Christian Decline is 2nd. Simon Birch Christensen is 3rd. Drek Jansen 4th. Tim Gerhardt's 5th, Arvid Rosen, Oscar Christensen, Lucas Schoenmakers. And it is Astrid Amlöf that has unfortunately retired off of turn number 6. So Amlöf out. Variato Wildermann not having a good day either. So the young German in the 250 down in 28th position, but might have parked it. Bruno Mulders up to 11th ahead of Dewey de Decker. Roman Sarkovsky, who had a bit of a difficult start, is now behind Jaden Thien in 16th position. Oh! Now who was that? Was that Simon Birch Christensen? Was that Simon Birch Christensen that went? That is. Birch Christensen comes out of turn 9. A bit too much curb there. The Dane buries the throttle. It spits him out the other way and puts him backwards on the grass. And has made a couple of skew-whiff 11s, mud style, trying to get out of the grass. And that has dropped Birch Christensen all the way out. Now let's have a look at this here. Yeah, he's caught the curves. He's tried to run wide. They are slick as anything. And here we go. Spools up the rear wheels like a good one. And that just shows that in these conditions, the curb is not your friend in any way, shape or form. you can find that it might have that kind of issue. Just bear with us a moment. We're just checking into the announcement I've just made. Bear with us a second. We'll come back to you in a minute with regards to it. So, as now it is definitely not easy out there as Tim Gerhardt's side by side for the lead. Christian Decline was going up the inside of Thomas Martins. He does so on turn 12. 2 wheels on the curbs, runs a little bit wide. Martins has to avoid. So Christian Decline now leads this race. On to lap number 5. Drake Jansen as the lead now changes again. Lasse Andresen, can you report to the stewards immediately? DD2 driver. The battle for the lead quite clearly on. Christian Decline and Thomas Martins battling over it like kids at a sweet shop. But now the thing is that Christian Decline is ahead and has about 6 kart lengths, maybe make that 8 going into turn 7 on Thomas Martins as Rosen, Mulders, Sean Makers, they are all literally trying to go for 3rd place. As Tim Gerhardt, I think, is now down in... now that was very wide. Who was that? Some individual, very, very... that was, I think that was Sean Makers, possibly, that went a bit wide. Bruno Mulders has had an absolute field day. The youngster in the CRG chassis is now... That is 3rd place. Bruno Mulders has come through smelling of roses despite the rain and the mud that has been kicked up by Simon Birch Christensen off of the exit of turn 9 and is now in 3rd place. Sean Makers, 4th. Rosen. Gerhardt's being pressurised by Denmark's Oscar Christensen. Oh no, I think that was Christensen that went wide. Christensen went wide off of turn 3. So trying to put the brakes on and the kart just was not having any of it. Rain's still starting to come down. We are into the final few seconds as it is all for themselves, as it is side by side heading into turn 7. And the driver that has just made the manoeuvre is the 234 of Danny Van Ruyten. And Van Ruyten now has gone up the inside of Luke Neeson. So Neeson now loses a position. So 2 places in 2 corners by Danny Van Ruyten from the Netherlands. But here comes Christian Decline, who gets the last lap board itself, with Wilderman and Umlauf having retired on the 1st and 2nd lap respectively of this race. 27 drivers will finish. It's a case of who is going to finish where, because Dan Ginchard has been biding his time. He's gone for 8th position. I think he's got that, having got past Van Ruyten. So Dan Ginchard, having started from the pre-grid along with Outletner, and Outletner hasn't fared as well. So the leaders coming down towards turn 7 for the final time, as everyone's nearly tripping all over each other as Rosen goes up the inside of Gerhardt's. That is for 6th position through turn 6. The rain starts intensifying once again, in some respects, in the fact that it's being blown sideways, and the temerity, the ferocity of it is starting to increase. As now, Christian Decline, the number 299 from the Netherlands, will now come round towards... Now, there is a time penalty being issued. I think that might be the two... I'm just keeping an eye on who that might be, but I'll wait until I get confirmation. Christian Decline takes the win by nearly 1.4 seconds ahead of Thomas Martins. Bruno Mulders, what a drive from the youngster, running on the CRG chassis up to P3 at the end of it all. Lucas Schoenmakers, P4. Derek Jansen, P5. Daniel Ginchard, 6th place from the pre-grid. Again, another strong performance from the young Briton. Arvid Rosen would get the better of Tim Gerhards at the end of that race to finish in 8th ahead of Danny van der Weyden. Simon Birch Christensen, who went spinning out of 3rd position, coming out of turn 9 a bit earlier on in the race, finishes in 10th. Luke Nessen takes 11th place ahead of Oscar Christensen, Kian Agasade from Germany, Doi de Decker from Belgium, Maxim Sechurko from Belarus, Valentin Klus from Germany, Roman Sakovsky also from Belarus, with Turnschmidt and Jaden Thien rounding out the top 19 ahead of Germany's Nikita Genzer. Jori Schoens, Alex Mikos, Sam Bergstein, Austin Lee, Tom Braken, Mikkel Gard Pedersen and David Outledner round out the 27 strong that finished the race, unfortunately for Variato Wilderman on lap 2 and Sweden's Astrid Amlof on the very first lap. Their races came to an abrupt halt here at Karting Genk. We now go to our last race before the lunch break, and to give us a little bit of sign of what things are to come this afternoon. Senior Rotax. This time it is groups A and B. Lewis Gilbert and Sean Butcher will make it an all-British front row, ahead of Andres Hebel, who hopefully will have a better time behind the wheel in 3rd position, ahead of Belgium's Luca Leistra. Maz Ries will be in 5th position, ahead of Anthony Boulou from France, with Victor Plateau and Linus Hensen rounding out the top 8. Then it's Robert de Haan from the Netherlands and Patrick Rundqvist from Sweden, completing the top 10. Let's see if Emily de Huys has another strong run, as the Dutch lady driver will be starting in 11th position, ahead of Vincent van Kerkhoven. Luca Thiel and Jules Castro round out the top 14 positions, ahead of Storm Brewer, Fabian Bock, Robin Knudson, Danny van Dijk, Antoine Antier and Ehad Turka rounding out the top 20. Completing the 27 strong are the Netherlands' Bart de Wit and also from the Netherlands, Flint-Schuring. Christopher Saxe in the 391 from Denmark will be ahead of Lukas Schermenskas from Germany. Denmark's Stefan Christensen in the 377 with Kornelia Olkuka from Poland and Jaroslav Zimaszka from Belarus. That is the 27 strong. We are now on the formation lap. 7 minutes set on the timer as the rain continues to fall down here. For those wondering, if I miss any of the races, can I watch them back? Yes, you can indeed. You can head to the official Camp Company GmbH YouTube channel where the races will be uploaded by the following day, as we do record every single race that are streamed, so you can watch them back again and again without the worry of a subscription service. So, Gilbert on pole, Butcher alongside, Hebert, Leistra, Ries, Bilou, Plateau, Henson, De Haan and Rundqvist. That's the top 10. 7 minutes set on the timer as we head towards the inevitable conclusion of the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff. 6 lucky drivers, winners of each of the 6 respective classes, will go to Le Mans this coming July, but it will be decided more than likely under rainfall. Who will get the jump in Senior Rotax Heat 3 here at Genk? We are full start. Zimaszka was absolutely nowhere near, and the field was spread out a bit more than would be expected. So Zimaszka now has to just catch up as quickly as humanly possible. Now it's time to control out, delete and reset for the second time. And with the colder conditions, the wetter conditions, the tyres need to be kept to temperature, but not over-scrubbed or over-compromised through the start phase. But generating the right amount of heat into the tyres also helps with the brakes, so the stopping power and the grip will be at the optimum they can be, even with these inclemental weather conditions. I had to think about that one. But it's about who can master the conditions that we have now on us. It was foreboding, it is now here. The rain is here in Belgium, in the Limburg region. 27 senior Rotax drivers. 7 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap. We could have a bit of a slobber knocker on our hands ahead of what will take place, what will transpire this afternoon. That formation looks a lot more well concertinaed, as it should be. Senior Rotax Heat number 3 of the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff is off and away. Gilbert gets the lead initially, Butcher to the outside of turn 1, and he's gone round the outside of Gilbert as they start tripping over each other. There's 3 off of turn 2, 3 abreast going into turn 3, but Butcher had a... Now, that was an absolute brilliant move by Butcher, but it just... that absolutely... Whatever's happening. And there's more carambolages off of... Now, there's a GKS driver off of, and that is turn 6. Now, the driver off of turn 2 is back behind the wheel of the kart. Gilbert looks to be in 4th place at the minute. Or is he? Now, whoever was on the outside of turn 8 was very brave there. As the drivers now make their way, Sean Butcher starting to get away from it all. And it's quite interesting to see as these drivers still being very, very... They have to be very careful on the throttle. But one of the drivers has absolutely stormed through the field. I'm going to say the surname, Brewer, followed by first name Storm, is definitely moving up the field and has just got past Robert De Haan of all people. So at the minute, Butcher leads by 2.2 seconds on lap number 1. Hebert second. Plateau, Gilbert, Stormbrower on the back bumper of the dual right diamond and going up the inside on turn 4. That is 4th place from Stormbrower, ahead of Lewis Gilbert, who now has Robert De Haan right behind for close company. As someone runs wide, and that was, well, Broer went a bit wide. I think that could have been Robert Knutsson that went wide at turn 6. But the meantime, Sean Butcher, this is his 2nd event in Rotax, if memory serves me correctly, doing a great job in there. Now, as it's not getting easy, Stormbrower being hustled up the inside by Lewis Gilbert, who can't get past, and it's side by side with Robert De Haan on the outside of Robin Knutsson going into turn 10. The Dutchman tries to switch back, can't get past the Swede as Gilbert slingshots past Broer, who responds in kind. And this is the key equaliser. You'll find that some drivers will have grip as Gilbert sends it up the inside of Gilbert. Gilbert sends it up the inside of Broer. De Haan goes through. So it's not easy out there, and the battle is starting not from first, not from second, not from third. It's 4th backwards, and Robert De Haan tried to go around the outside of Lewis Gilbert on turn 4, but Gilbert went, here's the door, see you on the way out. And now that is not helping De Haan by trying to go up the inside of Gilbert because Stormbrower is right on his back bumper. Robin Knutsson, Luca Thiel, Linus Hensen, Emily de Hoy's back in the top 10 again for the 2nd successive heat. So de Hoy's, I think, is going to, as it's not going easy for Knutsson. He went wide off of turn 8, as did Robert De Haan. So Gilbert hanging on ahead of Stormbrower as De Haan gets past Knutsson and nearly goes, well, that's close. That's very close indeed, as Butcher has a comfortable margin. I think it's going to be nigh on 3 seconds at this particular moment in time. 3.353 from the KR Sport driver ahead of Dan Racing's very own Andres Hebau, who's having a lot more fortune this time around. Victor Plateau is in 3rd as Robert De Haan goes up the inside of Robin Knutsson, and that allows Luca Thiel to come into the mix. Or is that, yeah, Luca Thiel. So Thiel definitely getting on with business, as is Emily de Hoys, who's now up past Linus Hensen, up into P9. Then it is Fabian Bock, Jules Castro. Then it's Flint Schuring, Erhard Turka, Danny Van Dijk, Patrick Rundqvist, Mads Dies down in 17th ahead of Jaroslav Zimaszka. Luca Leistra all the way down in 19th ahead of Lukas Schavinskas from Germany. Bart de Witt, Vincent Kerkhoffen. Then we've got Saxe, Christensen, Ontier, Olkuka and Bilou all the way down in 27th and last place as Gilbert and Stormbrower battling over 4th position. Broer now has managed to pull away from Gilbert coming out of turn 9. So Butcher continues to lead. Here comes Hebau from France as there's more argy-bargy, and that was between the 325 of Mads Dies, and I think that might be, that's Patrick Rundqvist, isn't it? I'll just keep an eye out for that one. Yes, that is the case. That is the battle over 16th, which Mads Dies now has in his pocket, as Robert De Haan and Robert De Haan and Robin Knutsson still battling away as De Haan goes wide coming out of turn 3. Oh, that was very close, and could have allowed either Luca Thiel and also Emily de Hoys to get through. And we are fast approaching, I think, yeah, we're getting into the last 90 or so seconds of this race, plus an additional lap, and it is not over yet. Running order still. Butcher leads by 9 on a straightaway between turns 10 and 9, as Emily de Hoys, I think, might have got up the inside of Luca Thiel, who has responded and taken back what is 8th position, as de Hoys goes 2 wheels on the curbs. Coming out of that corner, as it is nearly 3 abreast a bit further down the order. As Knutsson and De Haan still battling away over position. So Rundqvist was battling away with Fabian Bock of all people. So Bock, has he dropped down a couple of places down the order? Your guess is as good as mine, as Stormbrower goes a little bit sideways, trying to get the anchors on for turn 2, but makes it happen. Keeps a gap between himself and Lewis Gilbert, which was nearly 2 seconds last time around. As Butcher comes through turn 7. But I don't think he's going to have enough time. They've been running on the 1 minute... Well, Butcher has been showing a clean pair of racing boot heels and toes to the rest of the opposition. Running in the 1 minute 12.6 as the timer is about to expire. And that is it. 7 minutes are up. This time around, we will get the last lap board being shown to Sean Butcher, who did a brilliant job of just keeping it planted around the outside to take the lead. He's going to get the last lap board, as now does Andres Hebel, as Mads Ries has unfortunately called it a day, and the young Dane in the 325 with Oris competition goes out of the race. We're on to the 7th and final lap. Hebel is in 2nd, Plateau in 3rd. Breur, Knutsson past Gilbert, Robert De Haan, Danny Van Dijk, Emily De Hoys and Jules Castro round out the top 10. It's great weather. It's a great equaliser, isn't it, the weather? But the weather is not getting any more favourable out there because the spray off the rear Mojo tyres are getting higher and higher. The rain is coming down incandescently here, as there's a move up the inside of Linus Hensen that looks to be Flint Schuring. As we're on the final lap, just keeping an eye on where Sean Butcher is, because the checkered flag will wave for the final time before the lunch break. What a calm and composed drive from KR Sports' Sean Butcher, who wins the last senior Rotax heat after Matthew Higgins did 2 for 2, but there's a battle royale with Gilbert. So Butcher takes the win. Hebert will take, and it's a scrabble over what is 6th position. And Gilbert goes sideways into De Haan. And who's pounced through this? That's Danny Van Dijk. Van Dijk, on the benefit of De Haan trying to go up the inside of Gilbert, goes up the inside. Well, Gilbert tries to go up the inside of De Haan. They both go sideways. Or was it the other way around? I know that we'll probably have a replay on that one, but Butcher wins it by 6.5 seconds. Plateau in 3rd, Breuer in 4th, Van Dijk takes 5th. After the battle with Knutsson, De Haan and Gilbert went in the Dutch driver's favour. De Hoys takes 9th ahead of Castro. Thiel, Hensen, Schuring, Zimashka and Fabian Bock rounding out the top 15. Luca Leistra would recover to 16th position at the end of that race, ahead of Patrick Rundqvist. Ehad Turka 18th. Vincent van Kerkhoff on 19th. Lukas Schervenskas from Germany in 20th position. Bart de Wit 21st. Stefan Christensen from Denmark 22nd. And then Christopher Saxe also from Denmark 23rd, with Antoine Antier being the last of the 24 drivers that would end up completing the full 7-lap race distance. Unfortunately for Cornelia Olkuka and Anthony Boulou, who I think... Right, so I can see a cart at the very least off of turn number 7. There is one driver there, so... and we also had Mads Ries, who parked up with just on lap number 5, so the Dane on the back foot going into this afternoon action here at the BNL Karting Series kickoff, where we crown 7 ticket winners for the International Trophy at Le Mans later on this afternoon. That's it. The morning is over for the 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff. The weather might be intensifying in terms of the rain and the wind. A big thank you to all the team out on track, our marshalling crews. They have definitely earned a well-deserved lunch break, which is what we're going to go to now. We'll be back just before 2:15 this afternoon, where both myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Ben van der Stukke will be keeping an eye on the action on track and in the pit lane, as we find out this afternoon who will be our 2020 BNL Karting Series kickoff champions and join the Roll of Honour. And which one of those, and to see those 6 getting their entry tickets to the International Trophy at Le Mans this coming late July. See you in just under an hour's time here at the Home of Champions. For those listening on Downforce Radio, we will be back at 2 local time, so 1 if you're in the UK. Thank you for listening. We'll see you after the lunch break, where we crown 6 kickoff champions here at Karting Genk and give away 6 tickets to the Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy, live and uninterrupted here on Rotax Radio. See you in around 40 or so minutes time. Thanks for listening.